Imagine lying in bed under the soft glow of your night lamp, eyes barely open as you drift into the realm between waking and sleeping. The world outside is quiet, the only sounds being the gentle rustle of leaves or the distant hum of a passing car. In this moment, have you ever wondered why everything around you feels so immediate and real? Why does every flicker of light seem to arrive at exactly the right time, as if nature itself were orchestrating your perception? Tonight, we embark on a quiet journey through the strange truth that you are always living slightly in the past. We will unravel how light, time, and perception intertwine to create an intricate tapestry where each thread is a moment delayed. This exploration isn't just about understanding the physics of light, it's about experiencing the beauty and wonder of our universe, seeing how everything around us carries its own story. In this space, you'll discover that every beam of light you see is not merely illumination but a messenger from the past, a traveler, carrying ancient tales across vast distances. Imagine standing outside on a clear night and looking up at Orion or the Milky Way, those stars shining brightly in the darkness. Each one of them has been journeying for years, sometimes even billions of years, to reach your eyes. When you gaze upward, you're actually gazing backward in time, witnessing moments that happened long ago but are only now arriving. As we delve deeper into this mysterious dance between light and perception, you'll find yourself questioning the very nature of reality. Is the present moment truly as immediate as it feels? Or is there a subtle delay woven into every sensation you experience? Your mind will explore how the universe keeps its secrets in the slow arrival of light, how every flicker on your skin or glint from a distant star tells a story of time and space. Join me now as we embark on this peaceful expedition through the cosmos. With each breath, let go of the day's worries and prepare to unravel the delicate weave that connects you to everything around you. We'll journey into the heart of how light travels through darkness, carrying echoes from distant corners of the universe. We'll uncover the gentle delay built into every sensation, reminding us that even our most immediate experiences are crafted from stories long in transit. So take a deep breath and let the day dissolve as we begin to explore together. In the next few moments, you will discover how light is more than just illumination. It's the silent storyteller of the universe, weaving past and present into one seamless tapestry. Let's step into this quiet exploration where science becomes a lullaby, guiding us through the subtle delays that define our perception. As we embark on this journey, remember to breathe deeply and let the world around you fade away. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine standing in an empty room with a small window. Sunlight enters and strikes the wall, each photon telling its own story of distance traveled, time passed, and memories carried. This light is not just illumination, it's a gentle reminder that every flicker, every glint, carries within it the essence of the cosmos. Now, let's delve into the heart of this exploration. Close your eyes and imagine yourself in a quiet moment, perhaps lying under a starlit sky or sitting by a softly glowing lamp. The light you see isn't just there, it has been traveling for some time to reach you. When you open your eyes and light rushes in, every photon is telling a tale of its journey through space and time. The glow from the lamp beside you left its bulb a fraction of a second before reaching your eyes. The shine of the moon departed its surface about 1.8 seconds ago, and the shimmer of a far-off star. That light began its journey long before humans ever spoke their first words, carrying stories of stars that have lived and died across galaxies. Even the nearest things arrive late. When you look at someone across a room, you're seeing them as they were a few billionths of a second ago. This delay is too small to feel, but it's a reminder that your entire life is stitched together by these tiny, elegant delays. Your brain gathers old photons, interprets them, and tells you it's all happening right now, weaving a seamless illusion of immediacy. Light travels almost 300,000 kilometers each second, yet space is vast and time is unforgiving. The light that fills your eyes is always slightly out of date. Imagine standing outside at night and looking up to see Orion or the Milky Way painted in silver pinpricks across the dark sky. Those stars are far apart, yet their light reaches you together, as if they agreed to appear side by side. But some of them might already be gone. Some stars may have long since ceased to exist. Yet their light continues on, indifferent to their fate, bringing you news from an existence that no longer is. When you gaze upward, you are gazing backward in time. The cosmos you see is not the one that exists right now, but rather one that once was, a universe whose light is still arriving. This delay isn't a flaw, it's the very reason we can see it all. If light arrived instantly, it would have nowhere to travel, no space to reveal, no story to tell. Every sunrise is an echo of the star we orbit. Every glint on water, every shadow on your wall, and even your reflection in a mirror are small acts of time travel. Each moment you see through light is a memory of a past that has already gone. Your body absorbs light, transforming it into energy for your cells. The warmth from sunlight that left the sun 8 minutes ago becomes energy within you. Even as you rest, tiny chemical reactions inside you trace their lineage back to those 8-minute-old rays. You are a continuation of ancient brightness, rearranged into thought and heartbeat. The truth is, you never truly see the present, you see what light allows you to see, carrying faithfully across time. Every color around you speaks in the language of delay, every shadow marks the boundary of memory. Yet, you move through this delayed world as though it were immediate, confident, and alive. There's something tender about that. It means existence itself is built on trust. When you look at the stars tonight, remember that you are looking into billions of years of distance and delay, yet somehow those scattered lights meet your eyes in perfect harmony. It's as if the universe worked endlessly to choreograph this moment your gaze. Their glow, the exact intersection of space, time, and attention. Light is astonishingly fast, but still too slow for perfection. Every beam of light carries a message from the past, a whisper, written only microseconds ago, or an ancient scroll stretched across galaxies. The cosmic microwave background radiation that hums through all of space has been traveling for nearly 14 billion years. It means the universe's first story is still being read softly into your eyes tonight. Light remembers what time forgets, keeping records of stars that died and worlds that once gleamed. When astronomers gaze through their telescopes, they are reading these pages of light. Each photon that lands on their detectors tells a word from the universe's diary. You too are part of this story. Your body absorbs light, transforms it into energy for your cells, continuing the cycle. Imagine standing near the ocean, watching waves crash and sound reach you a heartbeat later. Your eyes see the water rise before your ears hear it fall. Yet, your mind doesn't argue, it fuses both sensations into one perfect event. You live inside a beautifully synchronized illusion where delays are edited into one seamless song. Inside your head, this miracle unfolds again and again. Touching something takes milliseconds for nerves to report. Seeing something takes light microseconds before your brain translates it into sight. The now you live in is an equa masterpiece of synchronization that conceals the ancient truth. Reality always arrives a little too late. Physicists have tried to define now, but it slips through every formula. In Einstein's world, simultaneity depends on who's watching. For one observer, two lightning strikes may occur together. For another, one happens first. Time doesn't obey one universal rhythm, it bends with motion and gravity. Every observer carries their own present moment, private and personal, like a heartbeat of reality that beats only for them. Your now might not match minute. The present of a star thousands of light years away is our ancient past. We live in overlapping layers of time woven together by perception. The sunlight touching your window right now began its journey 8 minutes ago. The sun you feel warm upon your skin is already 8 minutes gone. You live by its memory, yet it feels immediate, comforting, real. The things that seem most solid, like the desk beside you, or the breath leaving your mouth, they're part of this slow orchestra. By the time your brain interprets them, they're already finished playing their note. Your mind is the conductor keeping time in a world of echoes, gathering fragments from different delays and aligning them into something smooth and believable. Imagine stepping outside of time, watching light from stars, lamps, reflections all moving endlessly, never quite catching up. You'd see every particle of light always behind its source, every perception chasing past events. Yet, from inside this grand delay, life feels continuous, flowing whole. That continuity is not a flaw, it's what makes existence livable. Without it, your senses would splinter, seeing disjointed flashes instead of motion, separate sounds instead of songs. The mind does what it must, smoothing delays into harmony to build the illusion of now layer upon layer, until it feels safe to rest inside. Even when you close your eyes, this illusion doesn't stop, it changes form as thoughts drift, forming their own timeline of memory and dream. Your brain continues its quiet work, folding past into present, predicting what might come next, keeping the world steady enough for sleep. The present is a performance played beautifully by the brain. Every flicker of awareness is both delayed and anticipated. You're never caught up to reality, but never completely behind it either. You hover perfectly balanced between what has happened and what will happen, anchored by your consciousness construction. Now, as you drift deeper into thought, wonder if the present moment you experience, however delayed, however assembled, still feels alive and real. It might be the closest thing the universe allows, a gentle illusion that keeps life seamless. In this exploration, we'll wander further into how memory itself is written by light, how photons and matter preserve what time forgets. We'll walk together into when light becomes memory and see how the universe remembers. The world around you glows softly even in darkness. Light lingers, hiding in reflections, shimmering dust, and faint glow of everything that has ever been touched by energy. If you listen quietly, not with your ears, but with your imagination, you might feel that light is not just illumination, it's remembrance. You live in a universe that writes with brightness. Every photon leaving an object carries its story outward, racing through space, holding the pattern of what once was. When it touches another surface or your eyes, the story continues, becoming memory etched into perception. Light has always been the historian of the cosmos. Long before eyes existed, light was already archiving reality. Scattering from dust, bouncing from atoms, recording without intention, it never keeps what it gathers, but carries its information forward. Your past never fully disappears. Every photon that once touched you continues onward, spreading your outline, color, presence into the dark. The light bouncing off your face as you read this is now leaving Earth, carrying a faint trace of you into eternity, somewhere long after your lifetime of proof, quietly wandering. You're made of atoms that once reflected the light of ancient star sand. Now you give back, continuing the cosmic cycle of memory and renewal. You are both witness and record, but light remembers differently from us. We store memories in patterns of neurons, electrical pulses, chemical traces. Light stores through reflection, absorption, echo, capturing shape and color, then moving on. Imagine standing in an empty room with one small window. Sunlight enters and strikes the wall, each photon telling its own story of distance traveled, time passed, and memory carried. This light is not just illumination, it's a gentle reminder that every flicker glint carries within it the essence of the cosmos. So, as we continue this journey together tonight, let us embrace the quiet beauty of these delays, understanding that everything around us carries its own story from the past. And in this understanding lies both wonder and peace, a delicate balance, where light and perception meet to create a universe woven with memories of time. So, as my mind works its intricate magic, weaving illusions and constructing the now, I find myself marveling at how seamlessly the brain crafts reality. When you close your eyes, do you think that everything stops? That the illusion of presence vanishes into the dark? Far from it, your thoughts continue their dance through memory and dream, painting a picture of what might be or has been, as if to reassure your mind that even in sleep, there is continuity. Your brain, ever diligent, continues its quiet work. It folds the past into the present, predicting not just what will happen next, but weaving it all together to create a sense of stability and coherence. Even as you drift towards slumber, your mind whispers promises of tomorrow, ensuring that every moment feels anchored, secure in its place within time's grand tapestry. The present is like a performance played out beautifully by the brain, each flicker of awareness, both delayed and anticipated. You're never fully caught up to reality, but also not entirely behind it, hovering perfectly balanced between what has transpired and what is yet to unfold. And perhaps that's the essence of now, not merely a point in time, but a feeling constructed by your consciousness to keep you anchored, alive within the slow tide of physics. Each moment arrives like a wave breaking at the shore, its journey beginning long before it reaches you. Every sound, every breath, every thought, all delayed arrivals from a universe that moves faster than we can perceive. And yet, our heart, senses, and neurons all agree to call this beautiful pretension the present, in which life unfolds seamlessly. As I drift deeper into contemplation, a question lingers: if the present is built from past light and delayed signals, what exactly am I made of? Am I but a memory arriving late in my own life? Hold that thought gently, because in the next chapter, we'll delve into how memory itself is written by light, how photons and matter preserve what time forgets. Together, we will explore how light becomes memory, tracing its journey from the distant stars to the silent messengers racing through space, carrying patterns of what once was. As it touches another surface or your eyes, that story continues, etched into perception, captured by the moment it illuminates. Light has always been the historian of the cosmos. Long before life knew how to see, light was already archiving reality, scattering from dust, bouncing off atoms, recording without intention. It never keeps what it gathers, but also doesn't fully lose it. The universe's oldest memories are made not of ink or sound, but of photons. When you stand in sunlight, you become part of that archive. Each photon that lands on your skin left the sun about 8 minutes ago, carrying information about its surface, temperature, movement, and age. When they strike you, they share that history, transforming into warmth, reflection, or the tiny spark that lets you see. Imagine someone watching from afar, a distant planet orbiting another star. They wouldn't see you as you are now. Instead, they would see a version of you from years ago. Your current self in their eyes is still forming, still waiting to arrive. This means your past never fully disappears. Every photon that once touched you continues onward, spreading your outline, color, and presence into the dark. The light bouncing off my face as I read this is now leaving Earth, carrying a faint trace of me into eternity, somewhere long after my lifetime of proof, quietly wandering. It's poetic, made of atoms that once reflected the light of ancient stars. I too am giving back, continuing the cosmic cycle of memory and renewal. Light remembers differently from us. We store memories in patterns of neurons, electrical pulses, and chemical traces. Light stores through reflection, absorption, and echo, capturing shape and color, then moving on. Imagine standing in an empty room with one small window. Sunlight enters and strikes the wall, each photon telling its own story of distance traveled, time passed, and memory carried. Your surroundings are speaking constantly through reflected light, retelling their existence. Light is the conversation that never ends. Even after it leaves an object, traces remain. Surfaces remember. In a sense, molecules absorb energy, electrons shift, heat lingers. Every interaction changes something, however small. Photographs capture light's memory, most deliberately a map of ancient photons caught mid-journey. When you look at an old photo, you're seeing captured light that once fell on real faces, days, and skies. Even the human eye works as a living camera. Light enters through the pupil, bends through the lens, and lands on the retina cells called rods and cones, translating it into electrical signals. For the briefest instant before your brain interprets them, those photons still hold the pure imprint of what they touched. You are constantly receiving small relics of the universe's memory when light meets matter, invisibly writing its mark. Some photons are absorbed, their energy stored as heat or used in reactions that sustain life, like photosynthesis, turning sunlight into sugar, growth, and green. Your body holds sunlight within it through food, warmth, sleep rhythms. You are a living memory of light that once crossed 93 million miles of empty space and continues forward. When you speak, move, radiate warmth. Every human being is a quiet lantern, illuminating the dark with evidence of their presence. Astronomers often say they're looking into the past through telescopes, true, but also a form of communion with light's oldest memories. When we observe distant galaxies, we see ancient photons carrying messages across cosmic distance. Those photons are survivors, witnesses of events long gone, whispering what they saw. I wonder about these photons' fates. When the journeys end, do they scatter forever into the cosmic background? Do they fade into heat, blending with the universe's expansion? Or does their story continue in some new form, absorbed, reborn, reflected once more? Science tells us that energy cannot be destroyed, only transformed. So even when light disappears from sight, it never truly ceases. It becomes warmth, emotion, or faint radiation filling the cosmos. The memory continues hidden but still here. Every particle of light that has ever existed is still present, just changed. Light from the first stars hums in space as microwave radiation light that touched ancient oceans moves through you as heat and energy. Even your childhood sunlight continues its story elsewhere, making you part of this endless remembering. Your thoughts, warmth, awareness all are part of the great recycling of radiance that began at the dawn of time. As I lie here, eyes half closed, I think about lights fading, not forgetting it passes its story forward through reflection, absorption, and life. Every beam of sunlight, glimmer of moonlight, spark of memory in your mind, all chapters of a cosmic autobiography. Resting tonight, you might start to wonder if light becomes memorado eyes that see it remembered too. Do they store their own histories in the light received? Your vision isn't merely witnessing its time traveling forever, looking backward. In the next chapter, we'll open our eyes more fully and step into the ones seeing yesterday. Open your eyes for a moment and look around the walls, ceiling, dim light beside your, but everything feels present. But it isn't every image reaching you has already happened. Your eyes are beautiful liars, offering yesterday and calling it today, realizing that every glance is a glance into the past, that even simple sights carry delay is strange. Vision works through light, leaving an object, traveling space, reaching your eyes, signaling your brain before you see. This tiny window of travel and thought means you never see things as they are, but always as they were right now. The delay is unimaginably small for nearby objects, billionths of a second, yet stretches across time itself for distant light. When you look at the moon, you see it 1.4 seconds ago, at the sun 8 minutes ago. In night skies, ancient pasts meet your gazellite left its source before Earth existed. So in quiet ways, eyes are time travelers, gathering history one photon at a time and arranging it into what your mind calls present. If you could stop time now, freeze every atom and ray of light, the image in your eyes would keep going for just a moment longer, because light already entering your pupils would complete its journey. Your brain watches yesterday unfold until it catches up. Even reflections are late. When glancing into a mirror, you see yourself from fractions of billionths of seconds ago due to travel time. So, in every sense, you're always meeting past versions of yourself. Breathing deeply, let this settle in. You exist within layers of delay, each slightly behind the last. Your body acts in present, but your awareness lives in aftermath, yet somehow it works. This delay doesn't break perception. Instead, it creates it by weaving time beautifully enough that delays become invisible. Your mind's genius lies not in instant seeing, but in perfecting illusions seamlessly. Have you ever watched lightning strike, then waited for thunder? Flash reaches instantly, while sound lags behind, a reminder that perception depends on distance and speed. Light travels so much faster than sound, hiding this difference most times. Every sensory experience works similarly. You live within layers of delay, all stacked into what you call now. If every sight is already old, how far back does your vision really reach? When looking at Andromeda Galaxy 2.5 million years away, you're seeing light that left when early humans learned to use fire. In your lifetime, this light traveled unimaginable space just to meet your gaze momentarily. When you look up, not only are you seeing past, but meeting it. Ancient photons from another galaxy have been traveling longer than our species existed, waiting to land on your eyes tonight. How does it feel knowing a beam of light from distant galaxies has been on its way to you for so long? Even when turning gaze closer home, this idea remains true. When looking into another person's eyes, you're always seeing them in the past, not drastically, but by fractions of heartbeats. In that fraction lies something profound. Every connection, glance, smile bridges tiny gaps in time, yet feels whole. Scientists use this truth to study universe's most distant past. Telescopes like James Webb capture light leaving galaxies billions of years ago, giving snapshots near beginning. Pointing telescopes into deep space means looking back in time. When you look up at night sky, participating in cosmic act of remembrance. Eyes aren't just organs of sight, they're instruments of history, translating universe's memories into understanding. Every sunrise is memory of sun's earlier flame, every rainbow memory of light rebounding through no longer existing raindrops. Stars that twinkle tonight might already be gone, yet their light remains, defying disappearance. Your eyes make sense of this time-lagged world by constantly predicting next frame, while feeding brain info slightly behind schedule, creating fluid, and continuous experience. Consciousness lives a few milliseconds in future built upon past light's arrival. You exist both directions at once and not trapped by delay but shaped by it. Your ability to see, react, wonder depends on light's patient arrival. Next time you open eyes, remember this: not just looking at world, but through time witnessing photons, leaving sources long ago, crossing space, surviving collisions, chaos reach your gaze. Surrounded by evidence that nothing truly disappears, it simply moves farther away. Now let eyes close against the world, seen a moment ago, already different, light changed. Room changed, you changed. Photons left skin seconds ago, still traveling, carrying reflection into spatial ready someone else's ancient light. Humbling thought, live not present, but soft parade delayed realities, always catching up, never quite arriving, yet somehow feels real enough to love, wonder, dream. You might find yourself pondering how far back into history each sight truly reaches. When we stretch our gaze outward, we encounter the vastness of space and time. For instance, when you look at the Andromeda Galaxy, a distant spiral in the night sky, actually seeing light that left it roughly 2.5 million years ago. That means the glow you see tonight began its journey long before humans learned to control fire. In your lifetime alone, that beam of light has traveled through unimaginable stretches of space just to meet your vision for a fleeting moment. Each time you look up at night, you're not merely observing the past, you're meeting it. The photons from Andromeda and countless other stars have been traveling since before your ancestors had names, waiting patiently to land on your eyes tonight. How does it feel to know that light has been in transit for longer than our species has existed? It's a humbling thought, isn't it? Even when we turn our gaze closer to home, this concept remains true. When you look into another person's eyes, you're seeing them as they were just moments ago. The delay is infinitesimal, just fractions of a heartbeat, but in that fraction lies something profound. You can never truly see someone as they are. Instead, you always see them from the past. Every connection, every glance, and every smile bridges the gap between then and now, yet it feels whole, doesn't it? The illusion is perfect, and the delays dissolve into presence. Your existence is a symphony of late arrivals, and somehow the music still makes sense. Scientists have leveraged this truth to study the universe's most distant past. Telescopes like the James Webb Space Telescope capture light that left galaxies billions of years ago, giving us snapshots of what the cosmos looked like near its beginning. When astronomers point these telescopes into deep space, they are looking back in time, billions of years in a single gaze. So when you look up at the night sky, you are participating in a cosmic act of remembrance. Your eyes aren't just organs of sight, they're instruments of history. They translate the universe's memories into understanding. Every sunrise is a memory of the sun's earlier flame, and every rainbow reflects light rebounding through raindrops that no longer exist. Even stars that twinkle tonight might already be gone, yet their light remains, defying disappearance. Your eyes make sense of this time-lagged world by constantly predicting what happens next. They feed your brain information slightly behind schedule, which is why the world seems fluid and continuous. Your consciousness exists a few milliseconds in the future, built upon light from the past. You exist in both directions at once, not trapped by delay but shaped by it. Your ability to see, react, and wonder all depend on light's patient arrival. The next time you open your eyes, remember this: you're not just looking at the world, you're looking through time. Photons from distant stars leave their sources long ago, cross space, survive collisions, chaos, and reach your gaze. You are surrounded by evidence that nothing truly disappears, it simply moves farther away. Close your eyes again. Now the world seen a moment ago is already different. The light has changed, the room has changed, you have changed. Photons left your skin seconds ago, still traveling, carrying your reflection into space, already someone else's ancient light. It's a humbling thought that we live not in the present, but in a soft parade of delayed realities, always catching up, never quite arriving, yet somehow feeling real enough to love, wonder about, and dream over. As you drift deeper into this moment, hold on to that gentle awe, knowing your eyes are little windows into the past. Ask yourself softly, if light lets us see yesterday, what would it take to see tomorrow? In the next chapter, we'll explore just that question. We'll step into the speed limit of existence and discover how light, though the fastest thing there is keeps the future out of reach. Imagine for a moment every sound going still. Every particle pauses mid-dance in this frozen silence. One thing continues to move: light. Light moves at an incredible pace, 300,000 kilometers per second through the vacuum of space. This speed defines what fast means, and it's unattainable by anything with mass. Why does the universe have a speed limit? Why can't we push past light if we imagine it? To understand this, let go of how you think about speed at everyday scales. Motion feels simple: walk, drive, fly, always more to be faster. But in the deep fabric of the cosmos, speed is not just motion, it's geometry. Einstein taught us that space and time are woven together into a single fabric called space-time. Within this fabric, the speed of light isn't merely a limit, it's a boundary between what can exist and what cannot. Like the edge of a painting beyond which colors stop making sense, particles in the universe are bound by this law. You, me, stars, even the smallest electron moves slower than light. The closer you try to reach it, the heavier you become. Energy turns into mass, time stretches, slows, and bends. Reality itself resists acceleration close to light speed. From your perspective, time would slow down, stretching your seconds into hours compared to the world left behind. If by some miracle you reached light speed, time itself would stop for you entirely. You'd exist in a single infinite moment, the universe still around you but frozen, no before, no after, just now. But for everything else, you would cease existing in time altogether. That's why no massive object can reach that speed. It means escaping time itself. Light is different because it has no mass and thus moves through the universe not as a traveler in time but as something defining it. Photons don't experience seconds, their journey from star to eye happens all at once, connecting past and present with one continuous line of reality. This constancy keeps the universe understandable, ensuring cause precedes effect. But there's also tragedy here, because the speed of light limits communication across vast distances. We can never see distant stars as they truly are now. We're always catching up to their light. Yet within that delay lies beauty. History unfolds not instantly, but gradually, like a grand film recorded in time. Light is democracy written into physics. Every photon travels at the same speed regardless of color or source. This constancy maintains order and rhythm, ensuring events unfold in an understandable sequence. Without it, there would be no before or after, just chaos. So light doesn't merely enable communication, it also limits it. The speed of light is why messages take years to cross the cosmos, and we can never truly see distant stars as they are now. Yet that delay allows us to witness history unfolding gradually, a record of all that has been preserved beautifully in time's tapestry. Light not only sets this order, but shapes what happens by defining limits. Every sunrise is the universe obeying these rules. Every star is patience personified, reminding us even the fastest thing must still move step by step. This constant reminder comforts, because if light must honor existence's speed limit, so can we. Now think about this: if the speed of light shapes time, what happens when it bends? When light curves around massive stars or vanishes into black holes, does time itself change shape? Gravity pulls, twists, and delays light. As a result, time changes too. Imagine a beam of light curving gracefully around a star, slowed by gravity, bending like a whisper through the dark. The speed of existence alters but never breaks. As you lie here tonight, let this image rest gently in your mind, a cosmic slowdown where every second turns into an eternity. Think about it. What moment in your life do you wish could slow down just for a little longer? Share softly in your thoughts, or with others. The beauty lies in capturing these fleeting moments held by light. In our next chapter, we'll follow this bend into the cosmic slowdown, where time itself begins to twist. Light's journey isn't straight but curved by gravity's pull, shaping the universe's grand architecture. Each curve tells a story of struggle through gravity's grip, sculpting memory into shapes readable across time. Light bends and stretches not just around stars, but also through the vast expanses of space where galaxies collide, stars die, and planets form, each event recorded in light's delayed journey to your eyes. The farther away you look, the younger the universe appears, because light takes longer to arrive from distant sources. So when you gaze at night skies filled with starlight, remember you're not looking at distance but duration. Each sparkle above is a clock, each photon a tick of that cosmic clock reaching across time and space. The universe doesn't erase its stories, it lets them travel endlessly, painting maps of vanished lives, still glittering across your vision. When you look up tonight, think about the stars whose light might already be gone yet continues to shine, because their photons haven't learned of their death. These stars are brilliant ancient ghosts, still glowing despite having long ceased to exist. The sky is both a cemetery and celebration, a map of vanished lives preserved through endless travel in time. So as you drift deeper into this moment, hold on to the gentle awe that your eyes are windows not just into the world, but also into time's vast tapestry. Ask yourself softly, if light lets us see yesterday, what would it take to see tomorrow? When I step outside on a clear night, the sky feels like a living tapestry stretched over the world, each pinprick of light a whispered secret from a time that has already slipped past us. I often imagine that every photon that reaches my eyes is a tiny messenger that has trekked across the darkness for years, decades, even millennia. Just to arrive at the moment I raise my head and look up, the thought that the glow of Sirius has been traveling for more than 8 years, that the faint glimmer of Betelgeuse left its surface centuries ago, and that the soft haze of the Andromeda Galaxy began its journey when our ancestors were still learning to stand on 2 legs, fills me with a strange mixture of humility and wonder. I am the receiver of a chorus of ancient transmissions, each star singing its own yesterday into the night, and I cannot help but feel both minuscule and immensely connected to that chorus. There is a curious paradox in this cosmic delay. The farther I stare, the younger the universe appears, because the light I am seeing has taken longer to reach me. A galaxy 1 billion light-years away is not only distant in space, it is also 1 billion years in the past. In that sense, the universe offers me a photo album whose earliest pages are the only ones I can flip through. The present moment of those distant realms is forever hidden from my eyes, locked away behind a curtain of time that light has not yet managed to pierce. Every galaxy I see is a snapshot of a younger self, a version of the cosmos that has since continued to evolve, to collide, to birth new stars, to swallow old ones. The sky above me is not a mirror of what exists now, it is a beautifully delayed reflection, a memory so vast it fills the entire dome of night. Light does not travel in a perfectly straight line either. As it moves through the universe, it is subtly tugged and twisted by the gravity of massive objects. The effect is gentle enough that I never notice it when I simply admire the stars, yet over cosmic distances it sculpts the grand architecture of the heavens. Massive galaxies and black holes act like invisible lenses, bending and magnifying the light that passes close to them. This phenomenon, known as gravitational lensing, can turn a single distant galaxy into a luminous ring, a graceful arc, or even multiple duplicate images that appear scattered across the sky. When I look at one of those warped structures, I am not just witnessing a delayed flash of light, I am seeing a photon that has been stretched and curved by gravity's invisible hand, a story of struggle and resilience etched into the fabric of space-time. Each bent ray carries the imprint of its journey, a testimony to the massive bodies that forced it to change direction, and in that imprint lies a record of the universe's own self-portrait. Because the delay caused by these bends is predictable, astronomers can turn it into a precise tool. By measuring how long it takes light from a lensed quasar or galaxy to arrive at different points on Earth, they can calculate the expansion rate of the universe, the very heartbeat of cosmic time. The farther a galaxy lies, the redder its light becomes, stretched by the relentless expansion of space. This redshift is one of the most elegant pieces of evidence that the universe is not static but breathing outward, growing with each passing second. Every photon that reaches my eye carries a subtle shift in color, a tiny record of how fast the universe has been moving away from its point of origin. In this way, light does more than illuminate the past, it tells us how quickly that past is receding, how the cosmos is stretching itself like a rubber sheet under the pull of its own momentum. When I think of all this, I realize that looking up at the night sky is, in fact, looking directly at time itself. I am not merely gazing outward, I am peering backward through long corridors of history where light slows, bends, and fades, yet never truly disappears. There is a poetic justice in the fact that something as intangible as light can hold together the memory of everything that has ever happened. Traveling billions of years just to land gently on the retina of a sleepy human eye. In that moment, I become part of a conversation that began long before my species existed, a dialogue that started when the first atoms fused in the hearts of dying stars and has continued ever since. Even my own atoms have stories to tell, each one forged in stellar furnaces, each one a tiny echo of a supernova that once lit up the universe. Sometimes I wonder whether some of the stars I admire tonight are already gone. Their light continues to travel long after their fire has faded, a lingering afterglow that reaches me because the photons have not yet learned of the star's death. In that sense, the night sky is both a cemetery and a celebration, a map of vanished lives that still glitter across my vision. What I call starlight is, more accurately, star life, a lingering afterglow of persistence that refuses to be erased. The universe does not discard its stories, it lets them travel endlessly, painting the heavens with the afterimages of ancient fires. Even the faint cosmic microwave background that fills all of space is a relic of the birth of everything, a whisper of the Big Bang cooled by owns yet still humming quietly in the background of my thoughts. When I tune a radio and hear static between stations, a tiny fragment of that hiss is the echo of creation itself, the most ancient delay of all. So when I stare at the stars, I remind myself that I am not looking at distance, I am looking at duration. Each sparkle is a clock, each photon a tick that has traveled across time to meet my eyes. I often ask myself, do I feel small or connected when I contemplate this? The answer is both. Light teaches humility, reminding me of my tiny place in the grand scheme, but it also teaches belonging. It shows that I am part of the same luminous conversation that began with the first stars. As my eyes grow heavier, I imagine myself as another photon in that endless stream, moving through time, bending gently around the gravity of my own memories, finding new places to land. Tomorrow, when I step into the sunlight, I will remember that the light on my face left the sun 8 minutes ago. That tiny delay makes me a time traveler, albeit a modest one. Light always arrives late, but never too late to find me. I let my thoughts drift toward a new curiosity. If light can be delayed and bent by gravity, what does that mean for time itself? Can time also stretch, slow, or even pause? In the next moments of my contemplation, I will begin to follow time as it bends, folds, and hesitates, as the universe plays catch-up where even the ticking of moments must yield to gravity's pull. I picture the universe as a great, slow river. From my quiet spot on the shore, the current seems smooth, but beneath the surface the flow is uneven, faster here, slower there, shaped by invisible bends in space-time. Time does not tick the same for everyone. If I could watch two identical clocks drift apart, one left on Earth and the other sent into orbit, they would begin to disagree. The clock high above would tick slightly faster, freed from the full pull of Earth's gravity, while the one below, pressed closer to our planet's mass, would tick a little slower. The difference is microscopic, yet measurable, and it changes everything we think we know about the present. Einstein called this truth gravitational time dilation, a reminder that gravity bends not only space but time itself. Where gravity is strong, time slows. Where it weakens, time runs free. Even the seconds in my body are stretched and squeezed depending on where I am in the universe. I might not notice it, but every mountaintop ages faster than every valley. The summit of Everest is about 30 microseconds older each year than sea level. It sounds absurdly small, but in a universe 13 billion years old, such differences add up. Time is elastic. Near massive objects like stars and black holes, it stretches, slackening in the grip of gravity while racing ahead in emptier space. The cosmos is therefore not synchronized. Each region keeps its own tempo, each galaxy its own rhythm. The Earth, the stars, we all tick to slightly different beats. If I could hover just outside a black hole's event horizon, I would watch the rest of the universe rush ahead. For every second I experienced, perhaps thousands or millions of years would pass elsewhere. To distant observers, I would appear frozen, trapped near the edge of darkness. My time almost stopped. Yet for me, everything would seem perfectly normal, my pulse steady, my thoughts calm. Time would still flow, just slower, stretched by gravity's immense hand. This is not science fiction, it is physics. The GPS satellites orbiting Earth must correct for this effect because they are farther from Earth's surface and therefore in a slightly weaker gravitational field. Their onboard clocks tick faster than those on the ground. If we did not adjust for this, our navigation would drift kilometers off course each day. Every time I use my phone to find my way, I am relying on Einstein's understanding that time bends. When I look up into the night, I am not just seeing distances, I am seeing temporal layers, places where time moves differently. A galaxy 100,000 light-years away is not only far in space but far in time, its clock slightly out of sync with ours. The most astonishing part is that motion itself can also slow time. This is the twin paradox, another of Einstein's gifts to thought. Imagine two twins, one stays on Earth, the other travels near the speed of light and then returns. When they reunite, the traveling twin has aged less, their time stretched because of their motion. The universe allowed one to leap ahead or, rather, to lag behind in the flow of existence. Even my gentle movement through space, rotating with the Earth, orbiting the Sun, and sailing with the Milky Way, makes me a traveler through curved time, my seconds quietly bending under invisible forces. I feel as though I am constantly playing catch-up with the universe. Every motion, every heartbeat, every photon that reaches me has lived its own duration. There is no master clock keeping score. Reality is a symphony of different tempos, and what we call now is merely the place where those tempos intersect. That is why the cosmos never truly agrees with itself. Some stars are already billions of years older than they appear. Some galaxies we see may have already faded, their light still on the way. Even the cosmic microwave background, that faint afterglow of the Big Bang, is not a record of a single instant but of many moments layered across the expanding universe, arriving to us unevenly. Time, it seems, does not flow like a river at all. It ripples, folds, and eddies, swirling around matter and motion. Every mass, from a planet to a grain of dust, creates its own distortion, and within that distortion my seconds stretch and then resume their quiet march forward. This bending of time is not just physics, it is poetry. It means that nothing, not even time itself, is rigid. The universe is flexible, forgiving, alive. It breathes. When I say this moment, that phrase means something different everywhere else. My now is not yours, nor the sun's, nor the galaxies. The present is personal, shaped by the gravity I stand within and the speed at which I move. There is no universal tick, only the rhythm of my own path through space-time. Isn't that strangely comforting? It means I am not late, not behind. I am exactly where I should be in the flow of cosmic time. My clock keeping perfect rhythm with my gravity, my velocity, my life. The next time I feel hurried, I think of the stars. Even their light must wait, bending and delaying through the depths before reaching us. The universe is never in a rush, it allows every second to unfold exactly when it must. I can take that as a kind of permission to slow down, to let my moment stretch. Because I, too, am living proof of time's flexibility. I wonder, when I think about time running differently everywhere, how does it make me feel? Does it stir anxiety, or does it comfort me to know that everything, even time, can rest when gravity asks it to? My breath steadies, the stillness in my chest grows, and I feel the soft weight of gravity holding me. I am bound to this planet, this spin, this local rhythm, yet my atoms were once bound to stars that move on different tempos. Every particle of me has danced to many cosmic beats before becoming who I am now. Ahead, a deeper question waits. If gravity can slow time, what happens when we go beyond it? When time is twisted so much it begins to fold in on itself? Is there a place where the present, the past, and the future all meet? I will soon explore that terrain, stepping into the relativity of now, where every observer lives in their own universe of time, and where now may be the most personal illusion ever made. I sit still in the quiet room, the air heavy and calm, my breath slow. The clock ticks somewhere, a faint rhythm I barely notice, and it feels as though time is flowing equally for everyone, everywhere. Yet if I could step beyond this moment, drift through space-time like a feather on a cosmic breeze, I would see something both humbling and strange. There is no single now. Einstein revealed this truth over a century ago, yet it still unsettles the heart. We imagine the universe as a synchronized dance, everyone moving to the same beat. But the cosmos does not keep a shared tempo. It allows each observer to carve out their own slice of time, shaped by their motion and position. The present, it turns out, depends entirely on where we are and how we move. Picture two people, one sitting on a train, another standing on the platform. The train glides forward smoothly, and lightning strikes at both ends of it at exactly the same moment. To the person on the platform, the strikes appear simultaneous. To the person on the moving train, the flashes do not arrive together. One reaches them first, the other later. Who is right? Both are. Each lives within their own now, their own truth, and neither can claim ownership of an absolute present, because the universe does not have one. This is the relativity of simultaneity, the idea that two observers in motion will never fully agree on when things happen. Time, like space, bends and flexes with perspective. Every observer's now is a unique cross-section of reality, tilted differently depending on speed and gravity. My now might cut across someone else's future or past, like pages of a book opened at different angles. It is strange to think that there could be no single universal moment that everyone shares, that while I lie here drifting towards sleep, some far-off galaxy's present may still be part of our ancient past, and someone else's future might already include my tomorrow. In the grandest sense, time is not a river flowing from past to future, it is a vast landscape, unchanging yet seen differently by each traveler. I move through this terrain, experiencing one ridge after another, one vista after the next, while the landscape itself remains. It does not fade behind me, it simply becomes invisible as I move forward. When I say right now, I truly mean right now from where I stand. It is an acknowledgement of perspective, not of universality. My now is a fragile bubble of awareness built by light, distance, and motion. The universe contains countless bubbles, all overlapping, all slightly out of sync. There is something quietly profound about that. I think about the stars again, their light delayed by years or centuries. From my perspective, some may have already died, yet from the stars' own perspective, their final photons may not yet have begun the journey toward me. My now is now. The universe is now, all different, all real. In the cosmic sense, time is not a river flowing forward, it is more like a vast landscape, still, but perceived differently by each traveler. I am moving through this terrain, experiencing one ridge after another, one vista after the next. The landscape itself remains, it does not fade behind me. It simply becomes invisible as I move forward. So when I say right now, what I truly mean is right now from where I stand. It is an acknowledgement of perspective, not of universality. My now is a fragile bubble of awareness built by light, distance, and motion. The universe contains countless of these bubbles, all overlapping, all slightly out of sync. There is something quietly profound about that. The night sky continues to whisper its ancient stories, each photon a patient traveler, each bend in its path a reminder that gravity and motion shape not only the space we see, but the very fabric of time itself. I breathe in the cool air, feeling the subtle pull of Earth beneath me, and I let the knowledge settle I am part of a grand, flexible cosmos where time stretches and contracts, where every moment is both unique and shared in a tapestry woven from light, gravity, and motion. As I close my eyes, I imagine myself as another photon, drifting gently, bending around the invisible hills of my own memories, finding new places to land, and perhaps, one day, joining the chorus of stars that have already sung their songs into the night. As I lay here under the vast expanse of the night sky, the stars above me seem to whisper ancient secrets. Each photon traveling through space carries tales from distant galaxies, each one a patient traveler bending its path around invisible hills of gravity and motion. The universe is a grand tapestry woven from light, gravity, and movement, where every moment is both unique and shared in a complex dance that defies simple understanding. If you could step beyond this moment, drift through space-time like a feather on a cosmic breeze, you would see something humbling yet strange. There is no single now. Einstein revealed over a century ago that the present depends entirely on where you are and how you move. Imagine two people sitting in a train car as it glides smoothly forward, the other standing on a platform watching. At both ends of the moving train, lightning strikes simultaneously from an observer's perspective outside. For the person on the platform, these flashes seem to happen at once. But for the passenger inside the speeding train, the The strikes don't arrive together, one reaches them first, the other later. Who is right? Both are. Each person experiences their own now, their own truth. The universe doesn't have a single absolute present because every observer's perception depends on motion and position. This concept, known as the relativity of simultaneity, tells us that time bends and flexes with perspective. Every observer carves out their unique slice of reality, tilted differently based on speed and gravity. Your now might cut across someone else's future or past, like pages of a book opened at different angles. It's strange to think there could be no single universal moment, shared by everyone. As you drift towards sleep, some far-off galaxy's present may still be part of our ancient past. Someone else's future might already include your tomorrow. Time in the grandest sense isn't flowing like a river from past to future. It exists as a vast landscape, unchanging, but seen differently by each traveler. You're moving through this terrain, experiencing one ridge after another, one vista after the next. But the landscape itself remains unchanged. It doesn't fade behind you. It simply becomes invisible as you move forward. When you say right now, what you truly mean is right now from where I stand. It's an acknowledgement of perspective, not universality. Your present is a fragile bubble of awareness built by light, distance, and motion. The universe contains countless such bubbles, all overlapping but slightly out of sync. There's something quietly profound about this. Consider every conscious being on Earth or in distant galaxies, each living their own version of the present. Millions of presents, millions of news, none exactly the same. Yet, we feel connected by an illusion that time is shared. This illusion allows us to build stories, relationships, and meaning. Without it, life might seem too fragmented, too lonely. Your brain simplifies reality. It tells you everyone everywhere moves through the same no-hiding relativity to make the world feel whole. You can think of this as nature's kindness, the universe simplifying itself, so your mind can rest. However, there are moments when this illusion slips. When you look up at starlight that began its journey before humans existed, or watch a distant thunderstorm and see the flash before hearing the sound, you glimpse the truth. Time is layered, uneven, personal. Every now you live as a small tilted window through which you experience the grand simultaneity of existence. You can't see the whole thing at once, but every observer contributes a different angle to create the full picture of reality. Together, all those windows form a vast and intricate tapestry woven from light, gravity, and motion. Imagine floating above Earth, looking down on cities glittering with lights, clouds drifting by, people breathing, everyone living their own version of now. Millions of realities unfolding at once, overlapping, blending, and you drifting among them. The universe doesn't choose one timeline, it keeps them all a grand shimmering web of possibility and perception. This brings us to a gentle mystery. If every observer carries their own now, how small can that slice of reality become? Could there be space between moments, tiny gaps, where existence flickers like light itself? What if time doesn't flow smoothly but flickers in quiet, imperceptible jumps? Close your eyes for a moment and listen, not to words or sounds or thoughts, but to the quiet rhythm underneath everything: the ticking of your heart, the soft pulse of the room, the faint, invisible pace of existence. You might think it's continuous and unbroken, like water flowing endlessly downstream. But what if it isn't? What if time doesn't flow at all, but flickers? Between each heartbeat of reality, there is a pause, a silent gap where nothing exists, not even motion or thought. This idea hints at the quantum world. When we peer into the smallest scales of existence, time loses its smoothness. Particles don't have fixed positions or velocities until observed between observations. They exist only as probabilities smeared across possibilities, waiting for reality to choose. Each new second is a quiet act of selection, each moment a roll of cosmic dice. You're never fully inside a continuous stream of time, you're skipping gently across invisible stepping stones, each one solid for a blink before dissolving behind you. Your mind moves faster than the gaps, gliding through them like light through glass. The world feels both fleeting and eternal, because deep down it is both, always appearing, always disappearing. Every inhale is a birth, every exhale a brief ending. Your lungs filling and emptying, exchanging atoms with the world in pulses of being and not being. Time exists in these micro-delays, mental stitches blending disjointed flashes into harmony. Have you ever watched lightning flash and then closed your eyes, still seeing the afterimage glowing behind your eyelids? That echo is how your mind smooths the world, carrying light from the last moment into the next, refusing to let go completely. The same happens with sound. Each note lingers a little longer in your brain than in the air, blending into the next. Without these micro delays and mental stitches, every tune would sound broken, disconnected. Your senses create time where there is non-turning, disjointed flashes into harmony. Maybe the universe too flickers and consciousness holds it together. The smallest pauses in time give meaning to motion, sound, life. Music needs silence. Reality may need gaps between its notes. Without awareness, perhaps reality would only be scattered fragments of potential blinking in and out of being. You are the weaver of continuity, holding the universe together between one moment and the next. There's a beautiful symmetry in this thought that the smallest pauses give meaning to motion, sound, life. The stop-and-go rhythm that drives your heart may also drive the stars. Reality itself might flicker like light upon water, continuous only because you can't see the spaces between flashes. Imagine holding a piece of silk between your hands, pulling it gently, feeling its quiet resistance. Now place a small marble in the center. The silk dips and curves softly around the weight. This is how gravity works, not as an invisible tug, but as a shape in the fabric of space-time. Every atom, every planet, every person bends that fabric slightly. The heavier the mass, the deeper the curve. As space bends, so does time. Seconds near massive objects stretch slow and change their rhythm. It's as though the universe itself breathes differently wherever weight presses against it. You are sitting in a small valley of time. Right now, Earth's mass curves space beneath you, tugging gently on the flow of moments. Time runs slightly slower here than far above the atmosphere where gravity loosens its grip. Imagine standing near a neutron star where gravity is so fierce that a spoonful of matter weighs billions of tons. A single second could equal minutes or hours elsewhere. Time becomes viscous, heavy, reluctant to move. As you approach something even denser, like a black hole, time itself begins to collapse into silence. A black hole doesn't just trap light, it traps time. The deeper you fall toward it, the slower your seconds become. Everything feels normal to you. But from far away, you seem to freeze, hanging on the edge of the event horizon, fading slowly without crossing completely. To someone watching from afar, you become timeless. This is one of the strangest truths in all of physics. The universe has no single rhythm. Everywhere time flows differently, following curves carved by gravity, yet somehow fitting together like an orchestra where each instrument plays at its own pace, but still harmonizes. Einstein didn't call gravity a force, he called it geometry, the curvature of space-time itself. You don't fall toward Earth, you follow the curve it creates, moving through the natural shape of existence, guided by time's architecture. Even light, the swiftest traveler, bends slightly near massive stars in graceful arcs. When humans observed this during a solar eclipse in 1919, they changed everything. Starlight passing near the sun arrived, displaced a path warped by gravity's touch. Time and space weren't rigid, they were alive, responsive, and curved by matter. Not just stars bend to me, every human body does too. Every cell has mass that curves space-time faintly. The chair you sit on, the air filling your lungs, all contributing to the shape of time around you. You're not a passive passenger in time, you help weave its fabric. Your presence changes the tempo of existence, even if only by a breath. You are part of the architecture defining it. This thought is tender. Every moment exists. Somewhere in space-time's vast four-dimensional fabric, past events still live anchored there, real points yet unseen. Knowing this might bring peace or curiosity, perhaps unease. But it also hints at the beauty and complexity woven into reality itself, a grand, shimmering web of possibility and perception. As you drift towards sleep under the stars, remember every moment in your life, past, present, future, will exist somewhere in space-time's vast structure. This idea can be both unsettling and soothing. Unsettling, because it challenges our sense of time as linear and finite. Soothing, because it suggests nothing is truly lost. Your memories, dreams, hopes, fears, they all exist somewhere in the fabric of space-time. Even when you move past them, they remain anchored within this cosmic geometry. Knowing this might bring a sense of connection to every moment lived, no matter how fleeting or far away. Close your eyes and let yourself drift into these thoughts. As you do, consider the vast tapestry woven by light, gravity, and motion where every conscious being lives their own version of now. Millions of realities unfolding at once, overlapping, blending, each contributing a different angle to the full picture of existence. You are part of this grand dancer, delicate yet powerful force, shaping reality through your very presence. As you sleep under the stars tonight, let yourself be held by the vast and intricate tapestry of time itself, knowing that every moment in your life is written into its cosmic geometry, forever a part of the universe's story. I lie on the grass and watch the night sky stretch itself into a dark ocean of points, each one a reminder that the universe is far larger than the life I'm living right now. In that quiet, I feel the world beneath me not as a flat, inert surface, but as a gentle valley carved out of something far more fluid. The Earth's mass pulls on the very fabric of space and time, bending it just enough that the seconds I breathe are a shade slower than the ones that drift over a mountain peak. It's a difference so minuscule that my skin can't sense it. Yet the most precise clocks would whisper the truth if we placed one at sea level and another high on a ridge and left them to keep time for a year. The mountain clock would tick ever so slightly faster, its beats breathing a little more freely, while the one closer to the planet's heart would linger, each second taking a fraction longer to pass. I have never felt that stretch, but I know it exists, a hidden rhythm that underlies every heartbeat, every breath, every thought. Imagine for a moment that the bend becomes extreme. Picture a neutron star, an object so dense that a single spoonful of its matter would weigh billions of tons. Near such a monster, the flow of time would be sluggish enough that a second for me would feel like minutes, perhaps hours, for an observer far away. Time would become viscous, reluctant to move, as if the universe itself were holding its breath. And then there are black holes, those enigmatic wells where gravity is not merely a force, but a reshaping of reality. As you draw nearer, the seconds you experience begin to crawl. To you, the world would feel normal, your heart would keep its steady drum. Your thoughts would wander as usual. Yet to a distant observer, you would appear frozen, your image lingering at the edge of the event horizon, never quite crossing, forever caught in a tableau of stillness. In that paradox, you are both moving and unmoving, existing in a state where time seems to collapse into silence. The truth that Einstein uncovered is that gravity is not a pull but a curvature, a geometry of space-time that tells everything how to move. We do not fall because an invisible hand drags us down, we simply follow the natural shape that the Earth has sculpted around us. When I stand still, I am not truly still at all. I am gliding along a geodesic, the smoothest possible path through the warped tapestry of existence, like a bead sliding on a silken thread. Light, the swiftest traveler we know, is not exempt. When it skirts a massive star, its path bends ever so slightly, tracing graceful arcs that were first observed during a solar eclipse in 1919. That moment, when starlight arrived a little displaced, proved that space and time are alive, responsive, and pliable under the weight of matter. Even my own body contributes to this grand curvature. Every cell, every breath, every molecule of the chair I sit upon adds its infinitesimal mass to the space-time around me. I am not a passive passenger drifting through a static river. I am a participant in the very shaping of the currents. There is a tenderness in knowing that my presence, however slight, nudges the tempo of existence, that the universe's grand clock ticks a fraction differently because I am here. When I look up at the night sky, I am witnessing this geometry stretched across billions of years. Galaxies spin in slow, elegant motions, their light bending around invisible halos of dark matter, each photon's journey a testament to the curvature that surrounds it. I am, in every sense, seeing the shape of gravity made visible. When an apple falls from a tree, it is not being yanked down by an unseen force. It is simply following the shortest route through a curved space-time, gliding naturally along a slope that the Earth's mass has created. The apple and the planet are engaged in a silent dance, each moving within the same warped geometry, each step a part of a choreography written into the fabric of reality. That dance is reflected in our own lives too. The way time feels heavy when sorrow settles over us, light when joy lifts us, endless when we wait. fleeting when we love, or perhaps our emotions are a kind of mass of their own, a gravity that bends the flow of our personal seconds. Moments of beauty seem to stretch, moments of pain can feel endless, and stretches of routine dissolve like mist. It is as if the inner landscape of feeling reshapes the temporal terrain, just as a star reshapes the space around it. Consider the light cone that defines every being's personal universe. From the instant of my birth, an invisible cone has been expanding outward at the speed of light, marking the boundary between what can ever affect me and what I can ever influence. Every photon that will ever touch my skin, every sound that will ever reach my ears, every heartbeat that will echo through my world lies within this luminous shape. The past half of the cone narrows back toward that first breath, gathering all the events that made me possible. The future half fans out, an ever-widening lantern of potential, carrying each ripple I send into the cosmos. Nothing can outrun light, so this cone is the ultimate limit of causality, the fence that separates what is reachable from what will forever remain beyond my grasp. When I look at the moon, I am seeing it as it was a little over a second ago when I stare at distant stars. I am looking back across years, centuries, even millennia. Each photon that reaches my eyes has traveled along its own path inside my past light cone, weaving through interstellar clouds and past the gravitational wells of unseen masses before finally landing on my retinas. In that instant, I become the meeting point of countless journeys, each one a thread that has been pulled taut across the void to converge upon me. My own light, the warmth and color I emit, is already racing outward, crossing dust clouds, brushing past planets, slipping through the thin vacuum of space. Even if no one sees it now, it exists, a silent testament to my presence, a whisper that will linger long after my breath has faded. The geometry of these cones also tells a story about connection. Two people whose cones intersect share a region where signals can travel between them, a shared space where conversation, touch, and empathy are possible. Step far enough apart, and those cones no longer touch beyond that distance. No influence can bridge the gap. It is a cosmic definition of intimacy and distance, a reminder that the universe itself draws the lines of our relationships. As the cosmos expands, more galaxies slip beyond our future light cone, their light forever barred from reaching us. In the far future, the night sky will thin, leaving only our own galaxy as a familiar glow. Yet even then, the photons we emit now will continue to wander, carrying the story of our existence to places we can scarcely imagine. All of this is a reminder that I am both infinitesimally small and profoundly significant. My life, my thoughts, my breath are all woven into a tapestry that stretches across time and space. The seconds I experience are not isolated ticks on a clock, but part of a grand, curved rhythm dictated by the mass of the planet beneath me, the stars above, and the very weight of my own being. When I feel the heaviness of a sorrowful moment, it is as if my own emotional mass is deepening the curvature around me, stretching the seconds until they seem endless. When joy lifts me, that curvature eases, and the seconds glide by with a lightness that feels almost weightless. In this way, the universe mirrors the inner landscape of my heart, each influencing the other in a subtle, perpetual dance. Yet there is another layer to this experience that often goes unnoticed: the tiny delays built into every perception. My brain does not receive the world in real time, it assembles it from a cascade of signals that arrive fractions of a second apart. Light from a friend's face reaches my eyes almost instantly, but the sound of their voice lags just a few milliseconds behind. My visual cortex processes the image, then passes it to other regions that interpret expression, meaning, and intention. Meanwhile, my auditory system is still catching up. The brain, ever the masterful conductor, subtly delays the visual input just enough to synchronize it with the sound, creating the seamless illusion that we see a smile and hear a laugh together. This delicate adjustment happens without my awareness, a quiet act of kindness that stitches together the fragments of reality into a coherent whole. Even the sensation of my own heartbeat is a lesson in delayed perception. When I place a hand on my chest, I am not feeling the current beat, I am feeling the one that has already passed, its pulse traveling through nerves, across synapses, and finally arriving at my brain. The milliseconds that elapse between the actual contraction and my conscious awareness turn each beat into a memory of a beat, a tiny echo that has already faded. My brain compensates for these delays, constantly predicting and aligning sensory input so that my experience feels immediate. This predictive processing extends to all senses, allowing me to navigate the world smoothly despite the inevitable lag between stimulus and perception. Memory itself is a construct built on this principle of delayed integration. The brain holds a brief window, half a second, or so during which it gathers incoming information, evaluates it, and decides whether it constitutes an event worth remembering. Only after this short review does the brain commit the experience to consciousness, presenting it as a seamless present. In reality, each moment I am aware of is already a stitched-together collage of the very recent past, a mosaic of light, sound, emotion, and sensation that has been polished and presented to me as the now. This subtle deception is an act of mercy, a way for my mind to stay anchored in a world that is perpetually one step ahead. The universe mirrors this pattern on a grand scale. Stars orbit each other, planets tug at one another, galaxies sway in response to the gravity of their neighbors. None of these motions are perfectly synchronized, each is a response delayed by the finite speed at which information travels through space. Yet the cosmos maintains a delicate balance, a harmony of imperfections that feels steady to an observer within it. My own body, my thoughts, the fabric of space to meal of these are built upon the same rhythm of pause, response, and adjustment. The delay between heartbeats, between nerve impulses, between gravitational influences, is not a flaw but the architecture of continuity. It is what allows the universe to hold together, not through flawless timing but through constant, subtle correction. If I were to listen to my own heart as a physicist might, I would hear a tempo that never stays the same. It quickens with a breath of excitement, slows with a sigh of relief, swells with the rush of fear, and steadies with the calm of contentment. Each beat is both a mechanical pulse and a poetic improvisation, a tiny echo of the larger cosmic song. The heart's rhythm, like the beat of a drum in a vast orchestra, is never perfectly metronomic, yet it provides the foundation upon which the rest of the body improvises. The slight variations, the microseconds of delay, are what give life its texture, its depth, its capacity for feeling. All of this leads me back to the night sky, to the feeling of being cradled by the Earth's gentle curvature, to the awareness that I am part of a larger, ever-bending tapestry of time. The seconds I live are not isolated beads on a string but points on a curved surface, each one shaped by the mass of the planet, the pull of distant stars, and the weight of my own emotions. The universe does not have a single, uniform rhythm. It is a symphony where each instrument, gravity, light, matter, consciousness plays at its own pace, yet together they produce a harmonious whole. I am both a listener and a participant in that music, a note that resonates within a vast, resonant chord. As I breathe in the cool night air, I feel the pull of gravity not as a force that drags me down, but as a gentle curvature that guides my path. I feel the subtle stretching of time in the valley I occupy, the way the seconds linger just a touch longer than they would on a distant mountaintop. I imagine the extreme bends near neutron stars and black holes, where time itself seems to freeze, and I marvel that even here, in this quiet valley, I am part of the same continuum. My body, my thoughts, my emotions, all of them add their faint curvature to the grand geometry of existence. In that realization, there is a tenderness, a sense of belonging, a feeling that I am not merely drifting through an indifferent cosmos, but actively weaving the very fabric of time with every breath I take. The night deepens, and the stars continue their slow, graceful dance across the sky. Each photon that reaches my eyes has traveled a path shaped by the invisible hands of gravity, each one a messenger from a distant past. My own light, the warmth of my presence, is already on its way outward, a silent ripple that will travel through the void long after I am gone. Knowing this, I feel a quiet comfort, as if the universe itself has taken a piece of me and set it gently into its endless flow. The seconds may stretch and contract, the clocks may tick at different rates, but the rhythm that binds us all, gravity, light, time, and consciousness, continues its eternal, imperfect, beautiful song. And as I sit beneath the stars, I am both the listener and the note, part of a story that stretches far beyond the limits of my own perception, yet is intimately tied to every breath I draw in this valley of time. The night has deepened around me, the sky a dark tapestry threaded with the faint glow of distant suns. I sit on the cool grass, the earth beneath my knees steady as the pulse that thrums within my chest, and I let the silence settle like a soft blanket over my thoughts. In this quiet, the universe feels less like a vast, indifferent expanse and more like a living conversation. Each photon a word, each heartbeat a punctuation mark. I have come to understand that the rhythm of my body does not march in perfect lockstep with the cosmos it lags. It anticipates, it corrects, and in those tiny mismatches lies the miracle of being. When I place a hand over my heart, I expect to feel the beat in the very instant it happens. The thump rises, a wave of pressure that seems to travel straight from the muscle to my fingertips. Yet the truth is more subtle. The nerves that sense that pressure are not instantaneous messengers. They are tiny fibers that take milliseconds to convey the signal to the brain. By the time my awareness registers the pulse, the beat has already moved on. A fleeting moment turned into memory. I am feeling not the present throb, but the echo of the one that just passed. This delay is not a flaw, it is the architecture of perception. A built-in pause that allows my consciousness to stitch together a continuous narrative from a series of discrete events. The same principle governs every sense. Light from a friend's face reaches my eyes in a fraction of a second, while the sound of their voice arrives a few milliseconds later. My brain, ever the diligent editor, notices the mismatch. In an almost imperceptible gesture, it holds the visual information just long enough for the audio to catch up, aligning the movement of lips with the syllables that emerge from the mouth. The result is a seamless tableau, a present that feels immediate even though it is a carefully assembled collage of slightly out-of-phase signals. This invisible choreography is a kindness my nervous system offers me, smoothing the rough edges of reality so that I can live without the constant awareness I am always a step behind. Even the act of seeing is a layered process. Photons strike the retina, where they are transduced into electrical impulses. Those impulses travel through a cascade of neurons, each one adding a sliver of interpretation, color, depth, motion before the image finally arrives at the cortex, where it becomes a conscious picture. The entire journey takes on the order of 100 milliseconds. By the time I recognize a face, the person I am looking at has already taken a breath, perhaps shifted a weight. My mind, however, fills the gap, presenting a version of the world that feels current. It is a subtle illusion, a gentle deception that keeps the world from feeling disjointed. Memory operates on a similar principle. Neuroscientists speak of a retroactive window, a half-second interval during which the brain holds incoming information in a provisional state, waiting to decide whether it fits into the tapestry of experience. Only after this brief pause does the brain commit the event to awareness, labeling it as something that has happened. In that sense, every now I experience is already a polished summary of the very recent past, a mosaic of light, sound, emotion, and sensation that has been smoothed into a single brushstroke. The feeling of immediacy is, therefore, a mercy, a small deception that protects me from the chaos of constantly catching up to myself. The heart, that steadfast metronome of the body, is itself a participant in this dance of delay and correction. Its rhythm is not a rigid clock but a responsive instrument, quickening when I inhale, slowing when I exhale, accelerating with excitement, decelerating with sorrow. Each beat is both mechanical and poetic, a tiny improvisation that reflects the state of my inner world. When love floods my chest, the tempo seems to stretch, making seconds feel elongated, as if time itself were being pulled by an invisible thread. In moments of grief, the pulse drags, and the world contracts, each second feeling heavier, more viscous. These shifts are not merely psychological, they are rooted in the chemistry of neurotransmitters that modulate how swiftly signals travel through my nervous system, altering the speed at which I process the world around me. Consider the simple act of breathing. As air rushes in, the vagus nerve sends a signal to the heart, prompting it to beat a little faster. The rise in blood pressure is detected by baroreceptors, which then feed back to the brain, prompting a subtle adjustment that keeps the rhythm balanced. This feedback loop is a conversation that never truly ends, a series of microdelays that keep the system coherent. It is a reminder that continuity does not arise from perfect synchrony, but from relentless correction, from the willingness of each part to listen, to wait, to respond. The same pattern repeats on larger scales. Stars orbit one another, their paths subtly altered by the gravitational pull of neighboring bodies. Planets tug at each other, causing minute deviations that accumulate over eons. The cosmos is a grand symphony of imperfect timing, each note slightly off, yet the overall melody remains recognizable. The delay between heartbeats, the lag between a photon's departure and its arrival, the fraction of a second it takes for a thought to coincide are not errors, but the very scaffolding upon which continuity is built. When I stand before a mirror, I am confronted with a concrete illustration of this principle. The glass reflects the light that has left my face, traveled to its surface, and bounced back toward my eyes. That round trip, though unimaginably swift in the order of a few nanoseconds, means that the image I see is already a fraction of a moment old. In that infinitesimal sliver of time, a few atoms in my skin may have shifted, a thought may have flickered, a breath may have begun. The reflection is a memory, a snapshot of a self that no longer exists in the exact same way. Yet the illusion is perfect. The mirror's surface seems to present me in the present, and my brain, ever the efficient editor, smooths over the delay so seamlessly that I never notice the discrepancy. If I were to place a mirror on the moon and gaze at it from Earth, the delay would become evident. Light would have to travel the 384,000 kilometers to the lunar surface and back, taking about 2.5 seconds. The image I would see would be of myself as I was 2.5 seconds ago, an almost imperceptible lag, yet enough to make my smile appear slightly out of sync with my voice. A mirror orbiting Mars would stretch that lag to minutes, turning my reflection into a ghostly echo of a self that has already moved on. The universe, then, is a hall of mirrors, each surface reflecting a version of itself a fraction of a moment behind, each delay a reminder that we are always chasing our own past. Even the Earth itself participates in this reflective dance. Sunlight that strikes our planet is scattered by clouds, oceans, and land, some of it returning to space as a faint blue glow known as Earthshine. That glow reaches the dark side of the moon, where it is visible as a subtle illumination. The photons that compose Earthshine have been on a long journey. They left the sun 8 minutes earlier, bounced off our atmosphere, reflected off our surface, and finally arrived at the moon. In that single beam lies a history of time, a layered record of the sun's past, the Earth's present, and the moon's quiet reception. Every conversation I have is, at its core, an exchange across tiny pockets of the past. When I speak, my vocal cords vibrate, creating sound waves that travel through the air at roughly 340 meters per second. My listeners' ears capture those waves, converting them into neural signals that are then interpreted by the brain. Simultaneously, the light reflecting from my face travels at 300,000 kilometers per second, reaching the listener's eyes almost instantaneously. The brain aligns these two streams, adjusting for the millisecond difference so that the words match the facial expressions. The result is a seamless interaction that feels simultaneous, even though each sense is arriving on a slightly different timetable. The notion that space is merely distance is an illusion born of our everyday experience. In the language of physics, distance is time expressed in a different guise. Light traverses 1 meter in about 3 nanoseconds, thus, every gap between objects contains a sliver of temporal delay. When I reach out to touch a nearby object, the photons reflecting off its surface take a fraction of a nanosecond to travel to my eyes. And the tactile nerves require a few more milliseconds to inform my brain of the contact. Even the simplest act of seeing my own hand is an encounter with my own past, a moment that has already moved forward by an imperceptible amount. Looking outward, the delays become more dramatic. Moonlight that bathes my window took 1.3 seconds to travel from the lunar surface to my eyes. Sunlight that warms my skin is 8 minutes old, a relic of a moment when the sun's surface emitted those photons. The light from the nearest star, Proxima Centauri, has been traveling for over 4 years. The faint glow of the Andromeda Galaxy is a message sent 2.5 million years ago when early humans were still kindling fire. Each photon I receive is a messenger from a different epoch, a reminder that I exist within a tapestry woven from countless threads of delayed light. The very act of moving through space is a traversal of time. As I walk across a room, I am not simply shifting my position, I am stepping through a cloud of my own past light. Every surface I pass reflects photons that have taken a brief moment to return to me, each one carrying a record of where I was a fraction of a second earlier. My body emits a faint infrared glow, and the surrounding objects absorb and re-emit that energy, creating a subtle exchange of radiation that continuously updates the scene around me. My brain, in turn, integrates all these signals, smoothing over the myriad delays to present a coherent picture of the present. Einstein taught us that space and time are inseparable, that they form a single fabric space-time where distance cannot be considered without duration. Moving faster through space inevitably slows the flow of time for the traveler. At the speed of light, time would stand still. Though I will never reach such velocities, the principle remains: each step I take, each breath I draw, each thought I entertain, subtly reshapes my personal space-time. If I were to sprint close to the speed of light, the world in front of me would appear compressed, distances would shrink, and my internal clock would tick more slowly relative to those left behind. My journey would become a personal time travel, a bending of the line between now and later. Even the most mundane actions carry this duality of space and time. When I speak across a room, the sound wave takes a fraction of a second to travel, while the light from my face arrives almost instantly. My listener's brain receives the visual cue first, then the auditory one, and merges them into a single perception. The delay is so slight that I am unaware of it, yet it is there, a silent partner in the dance of communication. In this way, every human connection is built upon a foundation of tiny, graceful lags, each one compensated for by the brain's remarkable ability to synchronize disparate streams of information. The universe, then, is not a cold, mechanistic machine but a compassionate conductor, constantly adjusting the timing of its symphony to keep the performance harmonious. The delays that permeate our perception are not flaws, they are the very mechanisms that allow us to experience continuity. They give us the space to process, to reflect, to integrate. They grant us the ability to turn a cascade of discrete events into a flowing narrative, to transform a series of isolated beats into a melody. I feel this now, as I sit beneath the stars, my heart a quiet drum in my chest, my breath a soft wind that rises and falls. The night air carries the faint scent of pine, the distant hoot of an owl, the subtle rustle of leaves all arriving at my senses with their own tiny delays. My brain weaves these threads together, presenting a seamless tableau of the world as it is, even though each element is a whisper from the immediate past. In this moment, I am both the listener and the note, the observer and the observed, a participant in a cosmic conversation that stretches across eons. When I close my eyes and listen to the pulse within me, I am hearing a rhythm that is both present and already gone. The beat I feel is a memory of the last contraction, a reminder that my body is always a step ahead of my awareness. Yet that step is not a misstep, it is a graceful lag that allows the story of my life to unfold without tearing apart at the seams. The same principle applies to every thought, every sensation, every glance into a mirror. Each is a glimpse of a self that has already moved forward, a version of me that exists only in the fleeting space between emission and reception. I think of the mirror again, this time not as a simple glass, but as a portal to a slightly older self. The photons that leave my face travel outward, bounce off the reflective surface, and return to my eyes. In those few nanoseconds, my brain has already begun to process the image, to compare it with the stored representation of my own face, to notice any changes. The reflection I see is a synthesis of the present and the past, a delicate balance of light and time. When I raise my hand, the mirror follows, not because it can predict the future, but because the delay is so minuscule that my brain fills the gap instantly, making the motion appear simultaneous. If I were to stand before a mirror placed on a distant asteroid, the lag would become evident. My hand would move, and the reflected image would appear to lag behind, a ghostly echo of my action. The delay would be a tangible reminder that even the most immediate of experiences is mediated by the finite speed of light. It would be a humbling sight, a visual proof that I am never truly present in the moment I perceive. I am always a fraction of a heartbeat behind. The universe offers countless such mirrors. Dust particles in interstellar clouds scatter starlight, creating diffuse reflections that carry the imprint of distant suns. Planets shine with reflected sunlight, their surfaces acting as vast mirrors that send photons back into space, each one bearing a story of the world it touched. Even the air around me reflects light, albeit weakly, creating a subtle glow that contributes to the ambient illumination. In every case, the reflected light is a delayed version of the original, a reminder that all perception is mediated by time. This understanding does not diminish the beauty of the world, it deepens it. Knowing that each breath I take, each glance I cast, each word I utter is part of a grand choreography of delay and correction fills the ordinary with wonder. It tells me that the universe is not a cold machine, but a patient artist, willing to wait a few milliseconds, a few nanoseconds, a few seconds, to allow the picture to come together. It reassures me that the imperfections in timing are not signs of failure, but the very essence of continuity. So I sit here, breathing in the night air, feeling the soft thump of my heart, listening to the faint chorus of crickets, watching the stars drift ever so slowly across the sky. I am aware that each of these sensations is a delayed echo, a memory already in motion, yet my brain weaves them into a seamless present. I am both the creator and the audience of this ongoing performance, a participant in a dialogue that stretches from the moment a photon left a distant galaxy to the instant my nervous system registers its arrival. In this awareness, I find a quiet comfort. The universe does not demand perfect synchrony, it invites me to dance within the spaces between beats, to savor the pauses that give shape to the melody. The delay between heartbeats, the lag between light and sound, the nanosecond that separates me from my reflectional. These are gentle reminders that I am part of a larger rhythm, a cosmic metronome that never ceases its subtle adjustments. I am not a solitary note lost in the void. I am a living chord, resonating with the pulse of stars, the whisper of photons, the breath of galaxies. When I open my eyes again, the world appears as it always does, continuous, immediate, whole. Yet beneath that surface lies an intricate lattice of tiny delays, each one a thread that binds me to the past and propels me into the future. I carry within me the echo of every heartbeat that has already passed, the memory of every photon that has already traveled, the whisper of every thought that has already formed. And in that quiet knowledge, I feel my place in the grand tapestry, a single, shimmering strand woven through time and space, forever moving forward, forever a step behind, forever part of the beautiful, imperfect song of existence. I stand in the quiet of my living room, the amber glow of a lamp spilling across the wall opposite me. The space between my feet and that wall feels like a simple stretch, a few seconds of walking, a handful of breaths. Yet even before I shift my weight, something invisible has already begun its journey, a pulse of light, already racing across the air, already making its way to the far side of the room. Every meter of empty space is, in truth, a sliver of time waiting to be crossed, a patient interval woven into the fabric of reality. For each meter that light traverses, it spends roughly 3 billionths of a second in transit. That nanosecond, imperceptible to any sense, is a tiny heartbeat of the universe, a silent delay that reminds me that distance is not just emptiness, it is time expressed in a different language. When I lift my eyes to look at the lamp's warm halo, I am not seeing the present moment. The photons that paint the wall with amber left the filament a fraction of a nanosecond ago, and the photons that now dance on the surface of the table left the bulb a few more instants before that. My vision is always a glimpse of the past, a collection of tiny echoes that have traveled from every object around me walls. Floor, the person sitting across from me, each one arriving just a breath behind its source. My own hand, extended toward the lamp, reflects light that takes a billionth of a second to return to my eyes. In that infinitesimal delay, I am already a moment behind myself, a whisper of my own recent past folded into the present. The world outside the window offers a grander scale of the same truth. Moonlight, soft and silver, took 1.25 seconds to make its pilgrimage across the void to my balcony. The sunlight that warms my skin this morning began its journey 8 minutes earlier, a relic of a solar flare that has long since faded. The nearest star, a bright point we call the Sun, is a mere 8 minutes away, but the light from the next closest star, Proxima Centauri, has been traveling for 4 years. And when I lift my gaze to the faint smear of Andromeda on a clear night, I am looking at a galaxy whose photons set out 2.5 million years ago, when the first humans were still coaxing fire from stone. Each distance is a clock, each step outward a deeper plunge into history. I am surrounded by a cloud of my own light, a personal haze of photons that my body emits and reabsorbs, each one taking its own microscopic journey to return to me. Even the most mundane movements become voyages through this ocean of delayed light. As I walk across the room, I am constantly exchanging photons with the world. The floor reflects my shoes. The curtains send back a glint of the street lamp. The air itself scatters a fraction of the lamp's glow toward my eyes. The universe smooths these countless tiny delays into the illusion of stillness. But beneath that illusion lies a ceaseless motion, an intricate choreography of light that binds me to every surface and every being. There is no true separation between where I am and when I am. They are two faces of the same entire space-time. A point in space cannot exist without a point in time, and when one shifts, the other must follow. Einstein taught us that moving through space reshapes the flow of time. The faster we travel, the slower our seconds tick relative to those who remain still. At the speed of light, time would stand utterly still. In that sense, every motion is a subtle form of time travel, a continuous, unending adjustment of our personal rhythm. If I could sprint close to light's velocity, the world would contract before my eyes, distances would shrink, and seconds would stretch. My destination would arrive sooner in space, yet my own clock would lag behind the clocks of those I left behind. Each journey bends time in its own way, sculpting my personal now into a shape that is ever slightly out of sync with the world's. This mismatch is not a flaw, but a feature of how we connect. When I speak to a friend across the room, my words travel as sound waves, taking a fraction of a second to reach her ears. Her reply, a smile, a flicker of expression, returns to me as light reflected from her face, delayed by another whisper of time. We are always conversing with each other in tiny pockets of the past, perfectly synchronized by illusion, but never truly simultaneous. Human connection, then, is a dance across delayed bridges, each gaze, each word a strand that stretches across moments that have already elapsed. We never meet exactly in the same instant, yet we meet close enough to feel whole, to share a presence that is both slightly behind and intimately present. The same principle governs our technological reach into the cosmos. The radio signal we sent to the Voyager spacecraft, now drifting more than 20 billion kilometers away, took over 20 hours to arrive at the probe, and the reply took nearly 40 hours to return. We are speaking with machines that are already deeper in the darkness, their replies arriving as messages from a yesterday that has already become today. The speed of light is the ultimate boundary, the unyielding pace of knowledge, keeping the universe coherent yet patient. It tells us that distance is not emptiness, it is history. Everywhere we look, we see what once was layers of the past rippling outward like water's surface. In the quiet of my room, I become aware that even the smallest gestures are conversations with time. The glance I share with a stranger on the street is a brief exchange of photons that have traveled a few meters, each delayed by a few nanoseconds. The smile I receive from a child is a flash of light that left their eyes moments ago, already a fraction of a second behind the child's own experience. These micro-delays are infinite decimals, reminding us that connection always involves patience, that every shared moment is a delayed miracle arriving just in time to be felt. When I step outside and watch the sunset, I am witnessing a scene that already happened minutes ago. The light that paints the horizon left the sun 8 minutes earlier, traveled across the vacuum of space, and only now meets my eyes. Yet the universe, in its infinite expanse, manages to deliver those ancient photons right on cue, as if it knows the exact moment I need them. Each ray that finds me has traversed unimaginable distances, carrying with it a story that began long before I was born. I become the destination of ancient messengers, and in that realization I feel both humbled and profoundly connected. If I share these thoughts with someone who loves the night sky, I am adding my voice to the same slow conversation that has been unfolding since the dawn of creation. Every word I utter, every breath I exhale, becomes part of a dialogue that stretches across ages. The universe speaks in light, in waves, in patterns, in the soft rhythm of energy crossing time. Every star, every planet, every atom participates in an endless conversation whispered across the void. Light is the language, time the accent, and each photon carries a message from its birthplace. Some photons are bright and clear, born of nearby suns, others are faint and ancient, their meanings blurred by billions of years. Together they form a dialogue that has been unfolding since the first moments of existence. When I lift my eyes to the night sky, I am not merely looking outward, I am reading letters written in starlight. Each point of light is a word that has traveled years, sometimes millennia, to reach me. By the time it arrives, its author may be gone, yet the words still glow. Astronomers, in their quiet work, become translators of this cosmic correspondence, dissecting light as a poet passes a verse, searching for rhythm, pattern, and structure. They split the light into a spectrum, a rainbow of meaning, and within it they find fingerprints of element hydrogen, helium, carbon, oxygen, each line a syllable in the universe's native tongue. A faint line in a telescope image is a word that took billions of years to arrive, a message from a time when entire galaxies rose and fell. Consider a supernova, a star that for a brief instant outshines its entire galaxy. Its explosion sends a burst of light racing outward at the ultimate speed, unstoppable and unhurried. When that flash finally reaches us, it tells a story of a star that was, a star that burned, a star that became. Even after the brilliance fades, the remnants of that explosion seed new stars, new planets, new life. The calcium in my bones, the iron in my blood, the oxygen I breathe are phrases borrowed from ancient supernova. My body is fluent in the universe's oldest language. Each breath I take is part of a cosmic dialogue that began billions of years before I existed. Looking at the stars, then, is not just outward gazing, it is backward listening. Hearing delayed replies of ancient voices still speaking through their light, reading the autobiography of existence photon by photon. The conversation does not end with light. Gravity, the deep, slow tone of space-time itself, also carries messages. When two black holes collide, they send ripples, gravitational waves through the fabric of reality. Those waves travel across the cosmos, stretching and compressing everything they encounter. Billions of years later, our instruments can feel their faint vibration, as if the universe is sighing softly in its sleep. Cosmic rays, the background radiation left over from the Big Bang, each whisper a different dialect of the same grand story. The more we learn to listen, the more fluent we become in the universe's many tongues. The universe does not rush. Its sentences take millennia to form, its punctuation is written in epochs. It speaks so slowly that most of its words arrive long after their speakers have vanished. To listen is to wait, to understand is to be patient. This patience teaches a subtle lesson: communication does not always require immediacy. The most profound messages are those that take time to arrive. Light shows us that delay is not silence, it is depth. When we send a message to another, our words travel at light speed, yet they are still slower than the instant our feelings formed. Every exchange, every glance, every spoken word is a miniature version of the universe's dialogue, always a fraction late, always a little out of sync, yet meaning persists across the gap. Perhaps this is why connection feels so powerful. To speak is to trust that our words will arrive, to listen is to wait for the light to travel. The cosmos waits too, for stars to form, for planets to cool, for eyes to open, for minds to wonder. When those minds finally look up, they complete a conversation that began before they were listeners. Tonight, as I step outside and watch the stars flicker, I notice that they do not waver because they are unstable, they shimmer because their light bends and twists through our atmosphere, translating for us, softening and reshaping it for our human eyes. Every stargazer adds new meaning to old light, becoming part of the dialogue, the universe speaking back to itself through us. If you are still awake, drifting with me through this slow cosmic whisper, perhaps you will share this story with someone who loves quiet wonder, someone who stares at the sky the way we do. Each time we share these thoughts, we continue the same conversation, light passing from one consciousness to another, one dreamer to the next. The universe has waited billions of years for us to listen, and in listening we give it something back: awareness, gratitude, a sense of being heard. Take a slow breath now. Feel the ancient photons that surround you, the messages of distant stars woven into each inhalation. As you exhale, imagine your breath as a reply, a soft gust returning to the universe that gave you life. Soon, we will follow that breath into the direction time itself prefers to flow, into the arrow that refuses to turn back. We will discover why time moves only one way, and what it means to live in a universe that remembers but never rewinds. If we could float outside of time, looking down upon it not as a line, but as a landscape, we might wonder why it always feels like it flows forward. We can remember yesterday but never tomorrow. Stars burn, glasses shatter, lives age, but never in reverse. The laws of physics work equally well forward and backward. An atom does not care which way time flows. Yet we, as conscious beings, experience a clear direction, a cosmic preference we call the arrow of time. That arrow points from order to disorder, from structure to scattering, from symmetry to dust. Physicists call it entropy, a measure of how mixed, how spread out, how uncoordinated energy becomes over time. A drop of ink spreads through water, but never gathers itself back again. A wave crashes and dissolves, never climbing perfectly back into the sea. Our bodies, our thoughts, our world are made of systems that obey this rule. The forward flow of time is the slow bloom of disorder. At first glance, it sounds melancholy that everything we love, stars, hearts, memories, drifts towards stillness. Yet within that slow unraveling lies creation itself. When energy spreads, it creates space for complexity. Stars shine by releasing order. Life feeds on gradients, on the difference between hot and cold, between structure and chaos. Without entropy, there would be no motion, no growth, no life. The universe's arrow, though irreversible, is also the reason we exist. At the moment of the Big Bang, the cosmos was hot, smooth, and dense, paradox of immense energy packed into a state of low entropy, an almost perfect order. As it expanded and cooled, that perfection began to break. Galaxies formed, stars ignited, planets coalesced, structure blossomed out of imbalance. Disorder grew, and with it the possibility for beauty. Time, then, is not destruction, but transformation, a story of order learning how to fall apart gracefully. Every sunrise is part of that slow release. Every heartbeat, every thought, every spark of warmth is the universe exchanging energy, trading order for experience. When we eat, breathe, dream, we participate in that exchange, taking in structure, sunlight trapped in food, oxygen bound in molecule sand, returning it as heat, breath, motion. In essence, we are entropy machines, beautiful conscious ones. That does not make the arrow of time an enemy. It is a companion, giving shape to our lives, making memory possible, aging meaningful. Without direction, cause and consequence would dissolve into a blur of symmetry too perfect to contain a story. Time's asymmetry allows us to live, to experience a sequence of moments. Yet a haunting question lingers: if the laws of physics do not care which way time flows, why do we experience only one direction? Why can't we move backward or remember the future? The answer lies in probability. The universe began in a highly ordered state, and from that moment onward, disorder became overwhelmingly more likely. There are countless ways for things to fall apart, and only a few ways for them to stay arranged. Time, like water flowing downhill, moves where possibilities multiply. We cannot stop it, but we can swim within it, shaping our moments before they disperse. Every act of creation, a poem, a breath, a friendship, is a brief defiance of entropy, a local reversal powered by the energy we borrow from the sun. The universe does not mind; it lets us borrow time's current as long as we eventually return it. We, like every star and planet, burn brightly for a while, then give our energy back. Perhaps the true beauty of the arrow is that it does not erase what it leaves behind. It preserves everything in memory, in traces, in light. Even as the world changes, our moments remain woven into space-time, never truly gone, merely unreachable from here. The arrow moves forward, but it never forgets where it has been. When loss or endings appear, nothing truly vanishes, it only changes its arrangement, its rhythm, its shape, its role in the larger pattern. In that sense, every delay, every echo, Every photon that reaches us is a reminder that we are part of a grand, imperfect song of existence, a song that carries us forward while honoring the past that still resonates within us. Why can we remember yesterday, but never tomorrow? Why do stars burn, glasses shatter, and lives age, yet nothing ever seems to reverse its course? The laws of physics don't dictate a direction, they work just as well backward as forward. An atom doesn't care which way time flows. And yet, here I am, aware that everything around me follows an arrow, a cosmic preference we call the arrow of time. This arrow points from order to disorder, from structure to scattering, from symmetry to dust. Its name in physics is entropy, a measure of how mixed, how spread out, how uncoordinated energy becomes over time. You can see it everywhere. A drop of ink disperses through water but never gathers itself back together again. Waves crash and dissolve into the sea rather than climbing perfectly back up. My body, my thoughts, my world are made of systems that obey this rule. The forward flow of time is the slow bloom of disorder, a process that sounds sad at first glance. But in that unraveling lies creation itself. When energy spreads, it creates space for complexity to arise. Stars shine by releasing order. Life thrives on gradients, the difference between hot and cold, between order and chaos. Without entropy, there would be no motion, no growth, no life. The arrow of time is irreversible, but also the reason I exist. Imagine the universe at its birth, hot, smooth, dense, packed with energy in an almost perfect state of order. As it expanded, it cooled, and that perfection began to break. Galaxies formed, stars ignited, planets coalesced, structure blossomed out of imbalance. Disorder grew, and with it, the possibility for beauty. That's what time is, not destruction but transformation. Every sunrise I have ever seen is part of this slow release of energy. Every heartbeat, every thought, every spark of warmth is the universe exchanging energy, trading order for experience. When I eat, when I breathe, when I dream, I'm participating in that exchange. I take in structure, sunlight trapped in food, oxygen bound in molecule sand, return it to the world as heat, breath, motion. In essence, I am an entropy machine, a beautiful, conscious one. But this doesn't mean the arrow of time is my enemy, it's my companion, giving shape to my life and making memory possible. Without direction, there could be no cause or consequence. Everything would happen at once in a blur of symmetry too perfect to contain a story. Time's asymmetry allows me to live, to experience moments that have meaning because they are part of this larger narrative. Still, there's a haunting thought hidden in the silence. Why do we experience only one direction if the laws of physics don't care? The answer seems to be written in probability. The universe began in an ordered state, and from that moment onward, disorder became overwhelmingly more likely. There are countless ways for things to fall apart, and only a few ways for them to stay arranged. Time flows where possibilities multiply. I can't stop the inevitable spread of energy, but I can shape my moments before they disperse into chaos. Every act of creation, a poem, a breath, a friendship piece, a brief defiance of entropy, powered by the energy borrowed from the sun. The universe doesn't mind, it lets me borrow time's current so long as I eventually return it. I burn brightly for a while and then give my energy back to the world, like every star and planet before me. Perhaps that's the beauty of this arrow, it doesn't erase what it leaves behind. It preserves everything in memory, in traces, in light. Even as the world changes, my moments remain woven into space-time, never truly gone, but just unreachable from here. The arrow moves forward, yet it never forgets where it has been. When loss or endings appear, nothing truly vanishes, it only changes its arrangement, its rhythm, its shape, its role in the larger pattern. I am part of that grand, imperfect song of existence, song that carries me forward while honoring the past that still resonates within me. Imagine standing at the edge of everything, no sound, no light, just the faint echo of expansion, stretching space like breath across infinite glass. This isn't a poetic exaggeration, there truly is such a horizontal cosmic boundary called the observable universe. It's not a wall or barrier, but a limit written by time beyond which light has not yet had enough years to reach us. It's like watching the surface of a balloon inflate. The more it expands, the farther every point drifts from each other. The space between galaxies stretches so much that no signal can bridge the gap. Expansion outruns communication. In this sense, the edge of forever isn't somewhere out there, it's all around me, quietly moving farther away every moment. Each second, more of the universe slides beyond the reach of my light, and each second, the cosmic horizon expands, making everything I can see a smaller fraction of what exists. I live in a shrinking island of visibility within an ocean of growing mystery. It sounds lonely, but is majestic because even in this vast silence, light still tries. It travels, reaches, speaks, even if its message never finds another listener. The photons that leave my body right now will travel outward forever, crossing distances we can't imagine. Eventually, they'll stretch so much that their energy fades into invisibility, their wavelength longer than the size of galaxies. But they'll still be there, tiny ripples in the infinite sea. Even in my quiet room, I am already part of eternity's edge. It's strange to think that the universe isn't expanding into anything there is no outside, no container. Space itself is stretching, and with it, the very geometry of time. As expansion continues, its rate accelerates, driven by something unseen, a mysterious pressure we call dark energy. No one knows exactly what this force is. It could be the energy of space itself, or a deeper law yet undiscovered. Whatever it is, it's winning. It pushes galaxies apart faster and faster, turning the universe into a grand slow-motion exhale. Far into the future, billions of years from now, the night sky will look very different. Stars I see today will fade, nearest galaxies will slip past the horizon. Future astronomers may see only the glow of their own galaxia, small island drifting in endless dark. To them, the cosmos will appear still, eternal, and empty. It's humbling to know that we live at such a rare Temian era, when the universe is transparent enough for us to see its story. Light from the beginning still reaches our eyes. We are the universe remembering itself before forgetfulness sets in. This brings me back to the arrow of time. Out here at the edge of forever, the arrow begins to lose its shape as expansion dominates. Entropy spreads so far and wide that change itself becomes impossible. Imagine a future where nothing happens, no movement, no heat, no light, a quiet freeze where every particle drifts apart and the cosmic story folds into silence. That's one vision of forever, a universe still expanding, but with no witnesses left to notice. But maybe forever isn't only silence, perhaps it's balance. Even in that distant stillness, the memory of everything remains written in space-time, etched in the curvature of reality. Every photon, thought, and heartbeat leaves an impression that can never truly vanish. When we talk about the end, what we really mean is the end of change, not the end of being. Time may slow until it nearly stops, but the fabric of what has been continues to exist, frozen in the vastness of forever. Perhaps then, the edge of the universe isn't a boundary, but a mirror showing me the farthest possible reflection of what it means to exist, a horizon not of space, but of perception, and beyond it, the quiet continuation of being in forms too complex for us to imagine. Tonight, as I breathe in and out, I am part of that rhythm, the slow expansion of the cosmos, the stretching of time itself. My heartbeat, my warmth, my thoughts are all small ripples moving outward, carried by the same expansion that pulls galaxies apart. In my own way, I am both observer and observed, a point of light watching myself drift into eternity. If I'm still awake, floating through this quiet dark, maybe I'll share this story with someone who needs a reminder. Endings are not always endings, they're just horizons you haven't crossed yet. You never know whose night sky it might reach, because next will go beyond the edge, not outward, but inward, where time bends so tightly that it folds back into itself. Gravity pulls not outward but inward, and eternity fits inside a single point. Imagine falling but never landing, no wind, no air, no up or down, only gravity's quiet invitation. I don't fall through space, here I fall into it. This is the heart of stillness, the interior of a black hole where time and space have traded places. From the outside, it looks like pure darkness, a region so dense that not even light can flee. But what makes a black hole black isn't absence, it's infinity. A place where the curve of space-time becomes so deep, so complete that even the fastest thing in the universe cannot climb out. I might imagine falling into such a space would feel violent, ripping and crushing, but near the largest black holes, it wouldn't. It'd feel weightless, I wouldn't even notice the moment I cross the event horizon, the invisible edge, where escape becomes impossible. To someone watching from far away, my fall would look eternal, slowing, dimming, freezing just above the horizon. My last moments would linger forever in their eyes, suspended by time itself. But to me, time would continue, slowly stopping as I approached the center until motion, meaning and memory blur together. That's the paradox of the heart of stillness outside. Time races onward inside. It slows to a stop. The arrow of time, which has guided my entire life, loses its direction here. When Einstein first imagined such a place, it seemed impossibly failure of mathematics. But nature had already built them. Every massive star that runs out of fuel collapses inward, its gravity folding it smaller and smaller until nothing can resist the pull. Stars don't vanish, they become equations. Regions defined not by matter but by geometry. At the heart of this lies the singularity point of infinite density, where our understanding of physics ceases to work. Space curves infinitely and time as we know it ends. It's not that time stops exactly, it's undefined, like asking where the color blue goes after nightfall. It's not gone, it simply becomes beyond what I can see. The singularity may not even be a point, it could be a surface or a string, something entirely new. Some physicists suspect quantum mechanics might save black holes from being truly infinite. Inside them, space and time are rebuilt into something else, something we don't yet have the words for. In that sense, the heart of a black hole may not be an ending, but a beginning. Every black hole was once a star. Perhaps one day every black hole will give birth to something new. Some theories suggest what falls in might emerge elsewhere, reborn in another region of space, to me, new universe branching off from our own. It's speculation, yes, but so were black holes once. The universe has a habit of turning speculation into truth. Still, looking from this side, the heart of stillness remains unknowable. I can only see its edge of the event horizon where light lingers, stretched and reddened, whispering last messages of matter. Those final signals glow faintly as Hawking radiation, a slow leakage of energy that over unimaginable ages causes even black holes to evaporate. In the longest timeline of all, even the stillness doesn't last. A black hole's gravity slowly undoes itself, photon by photon, until nothing remains but the faintest trace of warmth, a sigh of light fading into background noise. That too is the arrow of time. Even eternity must one day fade. For now, however, black holes are patient, silent, waiting. The Milky Way carries one in its center, a colossal being 4 million times the mass of the sun that spins gently, shaping star dances across our sky. Though I can't see it directly, I feel its presence in every orbit, every motion, every curve. Every atom in my body moves ever so slightly within its invisible pull. I am part of its story, a part of the same geometry of space-time. When I look at the night sky and see that bright, dense cluster of stars in Sagittarius, remember there behind the veil lies a place where time loses meaning, every second collapsed into one motionless truth. It's tempting to call that an end, but maybe it isn't. The heart of stillness might be where everything meets past, present, future all folded into one. That's what forever really means. If I'm still awake, listening to this soft descent into gravity's silence, maybe I'll take a moment to share this journey with someone who dreams about the stars. The more we share these quiet curiosities, the closer we come to understanding that even the darkest places in the universe are not empty, they're full of time folded gently out of sight. Close my eyes now and feel my breath. It rises and falls like a small echo of the universe itself, expanding, contracting, resting. Within this rhythm lies my own event horizon, the edge between thought and sleep, and as I drift toward it, carry this question with me: if time can stop, could it start again? If stillness holds all that has been, could awakening be the universe's next act? In the next chapter, we'll explore that quiet idea, the rebirth of time itself in the moment the universe wakes up, where silence turns back into sound and existence takes its first breath once more. Imagine everything asleep, every atom, every photon, every whisper of motion still, the stars cooled, galaxies dimmer and black holes exhale their last sigh. Time stretched thin across eternity no longer ticks, it's poised on the brink of rebirth. In that moment when all is still, what lies beyond? What emerges from the heart of darkness into light and life again? It's a mystery as vast as the cosmos itself, waiting to unfold in silence until the universe whispers its answer back to me. I sit in the quiet of my room, the night pressed against the window like a thin veil, and I let my mind wander toward the places where light surrenders to darkness. There, at the heart of a black hole, The arrow of time that has guided every breath, every heartbeat since I first opened my eyes, seems to lose its direction. It is as if the river we have been floating downstream suddenly meets a still pool where the current no longer pushes forward. When Einstein first sketched the mathematics of such a region, it felt like a paradox, a flaw in the equations, a place where the universe refused to be described. Yet nature, ever the patient architect, had already built these silent chambers long before any chalk on a blackboard could capture them. When a massive star exhausts the fuel that has kept it alight for millions of years, its own gravity begins to pull it inward, folding space around it tighter and tighter. The star does not simply disappear, it collapses into a shape that is less about matter and more about geometry. The core becomes a region where the familiar rules of physics are stretched beyond their limits, a place where density climbs toward infinity and the curvature of space becomes unbounded. At the very center lies the singularity point, perhaps where density is infinite, where our equations break down, where time as we know it ceases to be a useful concept. It is not that time stops in the way a clock might halt, rather. It becomes undefined, like asking where the color blue goes when the sun sets. The answer is not gone, but beyond the reach of our perception. Some physicists suspect that the singularity is not a point at all, but a surface, a string, or something even stranger that our current language cannot capture. Quantum mechanics, with its world of probabilities and uncertainties, might soften the infinite edge, weaving a new fabric where space and time are rebuilt in a form we have yet to name. In that sense, the heart of a black hole could be less an ending than a beginning. Every black hole was once a star, a luminous furnace, and perhaps, in the far future, each will give birth to something new. Certain theories suggest that whatever falls into a black hole may emerge elsewhere, reborn in a different region of space-time, spawning a new universe that branches off from our own. It sounds like speculation, but speculation has a habit of becoming the seed of truth, especially in a cosmos that seems to delight in turning the impossible into the inevitable. From our side of the event horizon, we can only glimpse the edge where light lingers, stretched and reddened, whispering the final messages of matter before it disappears. Those faint signals, known as Hawking radiation, leak away slowly, photon by photon, over unimaginable ages. Even the most massive black holes are not eternal, their own gravity eventually erodes them, until nothing remains but a faint sigh of light fading into the background noise of the universe. That, too, is an arrow of Timian arrow that even eternity must eventually bend. For now, black holes remain patient, silent, and undeniably present. At the very center of our own Milky Way lies a colossal entity, 4 million times the mass of our Sun, whose gravity choreographs the dance of the stars across the night sky. Though we cannot see it directly, we feel its invisible pull in every orbit, every motion, every curve of space. Every atom in my body is subtly nudged by its presence, part of a shared geometry of space-time that links me to the deepest wells of gravity. When I look up at the dense cluster of stars in Sagittarius, I am reminded that behind that glittering veil lies a region where time loses its meaning, where the universe's most vigorous motions collapse into profound quiet. All the seconds that ever were, and all the futures that might be, are compressed into a single, motionless truth. It is tempting to call that the end, but perhaps it is merely the point where everything meets past, present, and future folded together. Maybe that is what forever truly means. If you are still awake, listening to this soft descent into gravity's silence, you might feel a kinship with the stars, a sense that you, too, are part of that quiet curiosity. The more we share these hushed wonders, the nearer we come to understanding that even the darkest places in the universe are not empty, they are filled with time folded gently out of sight. I close my eyes now, feeling my breath rise and fall like a tiny echo of the cosmos expanding, contracting, resting. Within that rhythm lies my own event horizon, the edge between thought and sleep. As I drift toward it, I carry a question: if time can stop, can it start again? If stillness holds all that has been, could awakening be the universe's next act? The future I imagine is a universe that has grown old, its stars cooled, its galaxies dimmed, even the black holes having exhaled their last sigh of light. Time, stretched thin across eternity, no longer ticks, it pauses on the brink of rebirth. In that ultimate stillness, however, nothing truly ceases. Energy cannot be destroyed, it merely changes form, dilutes, or stretches. Even when all matter has decayed and all stars have faded, the remnants of existence linger as a thin, cool memory, like the echo of a dream that refuses to vanish completely. Within that endless quiet, quantum fields still ripple, flickering in and out of existence in fleeting bursts that appear and disappear faster than a thought. Those vacuum fluctuations are the universe's hidden hum, the subtle vibration beneath the silence. If one of those flickers grows large enough, if a quantum fluctuation expands, instead of fading, it could spark a new universe, a fresh breath where there was none. Physicists call this quantum tunneling or false vacuum decay, the idea that even nothingness is unstable. In the infinite expanse of timeless silence, new beginnings can bubble up at random, each one a fresh space-time, a new arrow of time, a new dawn of creation. The cosmos, then, does not end, it merely closes its eyes for 1 trillion ages before a new heartbeat begins somewhere in the calm. Perhaps black holes are the seeds of those new realms, gateways that, through their singular cores, bloom into entirely new realities. What we perceive as endings could be openings, what we call collapse might be creation in disguise. The cycle would be endless, a cosmos forever inhaling and exhaling, expanding into stillness, then waking again through a small shimmer of probability. In that cycle, time itself is reborn, the arrow resetting, entropy starting anew on a clean slate of laws, constants, and possibilities. Imagine that first instant after an age of perfect quiet. The universe, once dormant, suddenly bursts with infinite brightness, a flare of pure energy, not inside space but creating it, not happening in time but becoming time itself. It is not an explosion in the conventional sense. There is no center, no outside. The expansion occurs everywhere at once, a stretching of reality itself, a burst of possibility unfolding in every direction. In less than 1/1,000,000th of a second, the newborn universe grows from smaller than an atom to larger than entire galaxies. Space expands faster than light, not because light breaks its limit, but because the very fabric that holds light is still being woven. This rapid expansion, called inflation, smooths the universe by moving violently fast, stretching tiny quantum fluctuations into cosmic scales. Those minute ripples, those gentle wrinkles of energy, become the seeds of everything: stars, planets, oceans, thoughts. As the expansion slows and the temperature drops, energy begins to take on form. Photons, the messengers of light, appear alongside quarks, the building blocks of matter, and neutrinos, invisible particles racing outward to fill the cosmos with motion. The first particles are born, collide, and combine, turning energy into matter, matter back into lighter cosmic dance that unfolds faster than a blink of a dream. Yet there is harmony in the chaos. Every reaction follows perfect rules, the same rules that govern the fire in stars and the spark in our minds. In that single second, the fundamental forces, gravity, electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear forces, find their places, like instruments tuning before a symphony. The universe is a searing furnace, hotter than 10 billion degrees, yet already cooling, expanding, stabilizing. For the first time, there is rhythm, a before, a during, and an after. Time gains direction, entropy finds a starting point, and the arrow of time begins its relentless march, flowing through us now in every heartbeat, every sunrise, every breath. That first expansion sets the stage for everything that follows. If the expansion had been slightly slower, gravity would have pulled everything back into a collapse. If it had been faster, matter would have been scattered too thinly to form stars. Yet the universe struck a perfect balance, precise to 1 part in 10 trillion, threading a narrow path between chaos and silence. Around 1 second after the beginning, the temperature cooled enough for protons and neutrons to bind, forming the first atomic nuclei, mostly hydrogen and helium. These simple elements would later become the fuel for stars, the breath of galaxies, the elements that make up our bodies. Imagine the universe at that moment, a blinding sea of light and heat, photons bouncing endlessly between particles, no night, no emptiness, only brilliance. Tiny fluctuations in density began pulling on each other through gravity, growing ever so slightly into the first whispers of structure. The blueprint of galaxies was already being drawn in temperature, gravity, and time. It is astonishing to think that the quiet, starlit sky above us was once a shapeless, incandescent ocean. Every atom in my body, Every iron in my blood, every calcium in my bones, every oxygen I breathe traces its ancestry back to that first second of expansion and fire. I am, in a very literal sense, the universe remembering its own first light. The faint afterglow that fills the sky, cosmic microwave background is the cooled echo of that primordial heat, a whisper still singing 13 billion years later. When a radio is tuned between stations, the static you hear is that ancient light, the first second still speaking softly across the ages. It touches me through every photon that reaches my eyes, every warmth that brushes my skin, every flash of inspiration that makes me wonder. To wonder is to echo creation. My curiosity is made from the same energy that turned void into being. I am not merely a witness to the universe. I am the universe looking back at its own first moment, replayed through the lens of life. Awareness, perhaps, is the cosmos becoming conscious enough to ask how it all began. Every scientist, poet, dreamer who lifts their gaze to the stars continues that first moment of awakening. If you are still with me, breathing in the present, consider sharing this story with someone who has ever felt small beneath the night sky yet yearned to understand. When we share, we help the first second speak again, carrying its light from mind to mind. Take a slow breath now. The air entering my lungs is composed of atoms that cooled from that first expansion. I am breathing the memory of the universe's birth. Just as that early fire transformed nothing into something, the next chapter will follow how that heat and motion gave rise to the first stars. The universe, after its initial blaze, entered a long, quiet apocosmic dark age. For hundreds of millions of years, there was no starlight, no galaxies, only a vast, transparent ocean of hydrogen and helium drifting through space. The light from the Big Bang had faded, and the first true fires had not yet ignited. If one could have seen then, the view would have been an endless, featureless expanse, not because nothing existed, but because everything was too cold to shine. Even in that silence, subtle processes were at work. The tiny ripples in density, seeded during that first second, began to grow under gravity's gentle pull, like small wrinkles on still water slowly gathering waves. Matter fell together, forming invisible knots and threads that wove the cosmic web, a network of filaments and voids stretching across the universe. Within those knots, gas collected, compressing and warming, learning the language of creation. After nearly 400 million years, the first stars were born. Their light was faint compared to the brilliance that would later flood the cosmos, but in that instant, darkness ended. Imagine a sunrise not over a planet but across the entire universe, first glimmer of starlight piercing the eternal night. Each newborn star was a furnace where hydrogen fused into helium, where matter transformed into radiant energy. That moment marked the true beginning of cosmic illumination, the transition from potential to beauty. The first stars were not the massive, dazzling beacons we see today. They were modest, their glow soft and tentative. Yet they forged the first heavy elements in their cores, sowing the seeds for future generations of stars, for planets, for the chemistry that would one day give rise to life. Their radiation reionized the surrounding hydrogen, making the universe transparent once more, allowing light to travel freely across vast distances. In that epoch, the universe finally learned to glow, to cast shadows, to paint the heavens with the brushstrokes of countless suns. I feel the weight of that history in the rhythm of my own breath. Each inhalation is a reminder that I am part of a chain that began with a flash of pure energy, stretched across incomprehensible distances, folded into galaxies, collapsed into black holes, and perhaps will one day bloom anew from the quiet of a singularity. The universe is a story without a final chapter, a narrative that folds back upon itself, where endings are merely thresholds to new beginnings. As I sit here, the night sky stretching above me, I sense the pulse of that ancient rhythm, the same pulse that drives my heart, that guides my thoughts, that whispers that we are all participants in a cosmic dance of creation, collapse, and rebirth. If you are still awake with me, drifting between your own silence and thought, perhaps you will carry this sense of connection forward. The universe may one day fade, its stars dimming, its black holes evaporating, its quantum fields whispering in the void. Yet even then, a tiny fluctuation could spark a new cosmos, a fresh breath of existence. The cycle continues, endlessly inhaling and exhaling, each breath a new arrow of time, each arrow pointing forward once more. In the moments ahead, I will follow that new dawn, stepping into the first seconds after the universe's birth, when space was still hot and young, when light filled every corner, when potential reigned supreme. I will walk through the epoch when the universe learned to glow, when the first true sparks lit the ancient night, and when the darkness gave way to the brilliance that now frames our night sky. The story is far from over, and I am grateful to share this breath, this pause, this whisper of wonder with you. I breathe in the same rhythm that once pulsed through the newborn universe, that same beat that steadied a chaos so fierce it could have shattered into nothing. In those first fleeting moments after the birth of everything, the cosmos found a resorthin corridor between roaring disorder and a deafening silence, and it was there, balanced on a precision of 1 part in 10 trillion, that the story of us began. Roughly a second after the grand overture, the searing fire cooled just enough for protons and neutrons to clasp hands, forging the first atomic nuclei. Simple, stubborn pairs of hydrogen and helium emerged, tiny seeds destined to become the fuel of stars, the breath of galaxies, the very elements that would later assemble into you and me. Imagine a universe still glowing, a dense, incandescent ocean, where light ricocheted endlessly between particles. A brilliance so all-encompassing that night never existed. There was no empty void, only an overwhelming heat that thickened the cosmos beyond any feeling we can now conceive. Yet, even within that blinding glare, the first patterns began to whisper. Minute fluctuations in density tugged at one another through gravity's gentle pull, coaxing the primordial soup into the faintest outlines of structure. Those whispers were the blueprint of galaxies, etched in temperature, gravity, and the relentless march of time. It is astonishing to think that the quiet night sky we now stare up at was once a shapeless sea of light, that every atom in our bodies once swam in that first second's radiance. The iron that courses through our blood, the calcium that scaffolds our bones, the oxygen we inhale trace their lineage to that singular instant of expansion and fire. In a very real sense, we are the universe remembering its own first light. Even now that memory lingers, a faint afterglow that blankets the heavens. The cosmic microwave background, a soft, cooled echo of that primordial heat, drifts through space as a whisper of static on an old radio. When you tune between stations and hear that hushed hiss, you are hearing the universe's first second speaking softly, 13 billion years later. Every photon that kisses your eyes, every warmth that brushes your skin, every flash of inspiration that makes you wonder, these are all threads woven from that ancient fire. To wonder, after all, is to echo creation. Your curiosity is made from the same energy that turned void into being. You are not merely a spectator of the cosmos, you are the cosmos watching its own first-second replay through the lens of life. Perhaps that is what awareness truly is, the universe becoming conscious enough to look back and ask how it all began. For hundreds of millions of years after that incandescent birth, the universe entered a profound quiet. The blazing light of the Big Bang faded, leaving behind a vast, transparent ocean of hydrogen and helium drifting through an empty expanse. If you could have seen it then, you would have seen nothing at all, not because there was no matter, but because everything was too cold to shine. Astronomers call this the cosmic dark ages, a time before any stars pierced the gloom. Yet even in that silence, the seeds sown in the first second was stirring. Tiny ripples in density, those early wrinkles on the fabric of space, began to grow under gravity's patient tug, gathering into invisible knots and threads. The cosmic web was taking shape, a network of filaments and voids stretching across the infant universe. Within those knots, gas compressed, warmed, and learned the language of creation. After nearly 400 million years of patient gathering, the first stars finally ignited. Their light was soft, a tentative glow compared to the brilliance that would later blaze across the heavens, but their birth marked the end of darkness. Imagine a sunrise not on a single planet, but across the entire cosmos, a first glimmer of fire flickering against an eternal night. These newborn suns were unlike any we know today. They were massive, hundreds of times the mass of our sun, burning blue and bright for only a few fleeting million years before meeting a spectacular end as supernovae. In those violent deaths, they scattered the first heavy elements carbon, oxygen, iron, gold into the surrounding space. Before them, only hydrogen and helium existed. After them, the universe was seeded with the ingredients of planets, oceans, and life. Every element in our bodies heavier than helium was forged in those primordial furnaces. The calcium that gives our bones their strength, the iron that carries oxygen through our veins, the gold that glints in jewelry were once part of a star that lived and died billions of years before we ever breathed. The first generation of stars gave the universe color, structure, and memory. Their light traveled outward, illuminating the great clouds of hydrogen between galaxies for the first time, allowing the cosmos to see itself. Each photon that escaped those early furnaces has been stretched by the expansion of space, redshifting into the faint glow we can still detect today. When telescopes capture that ancient light, they are not merely seeing distant stars, they are witnessing the universe's first act of self-awareness. Light turned motion into history, allowing cause to leave a visible imprint, letting the universe preserve its story across eons. When we gaze at the night sky now, we are looking at a tapestry woven from those first luminous threads. Every star we see is a beacon from the past, its light delayed by centuries, millennia, or even billions of years. Each glimmer is a message arriving precisely when it can, a delayed echo of an event that happened long before humanity ever imagined the word star. Within that light lies our own origin, for those early stars did more than illuminate, they transformed. Their explosive deaths seeded the cosmos with the raw materials for new generations of stars, which in turn gave rise to smaller, more stable suns like our own. From the swirling clouds of dust and gas that surrounded these later stars, planets began to coalesce, marking the universe's next leap from shining points of fire to worlds that could endure. Before planets formed, however, the universe continued its grand choreography. Gravity, that unseen sculptor, gathered the glowing threads of starlight and stitched them into vast structures we call galaxies. The first galaxies emerged as chaotic clouds of gas colliding and merging, gradually settling into spherical collections of stars that flattened into rotating disks. Rotation brought order, turning falling chaos into a graceful pirouette of creation. Each galaxy became a sprawling city of light, hundreds of billions of stars moving in harmonious orbits around a shared center. Spiral arms unfurled, bars formed across galactic hearts, and elliptical giants swelled from ancient collisions. The cosmos, for the first time, resembled a painting, a masterpiece of light and structure. Our own Milky Way is one such brushstroke, a soft spiral stretching over 100,000 light-years. Its luminous bands a familiar pattern in the night sky. Every bright stripe we wish upon belongs to it, a single thread in a cosmic gallery of billions. Yet gravity's work did not stop at shaping individual galaxies. Galaxies gathered into families, clusters and superclusters, linked by invisible bridges of dark matter. From a distance, the universe appears as a vast web-skeletal network of luminous nodes connected by delicate strands. Astronomers call this the cosmic web, the largest structure we know, spanning billions of light years. If we could drift far enough to see it whole, it would pulse with energy like neurons firing in a cosmic brain. A living map of how matter has been whispering to itself since the beginning. The web is more than a metaphor, it is the universe's way of thinking through gravity and time. Its patterns echo across every scale, from the firing of neurons in our brains to the swirling of galaxies in the void. Galaxies evolve over billions of years, merging, colliding, and rebuilding. When two galaxies meet head-on, their stars pass through each other like ghosts, while their gas clouds crash, igniting waves of new star formation. These collisions are not destruction, but rebirth. The Milky Way, too, has devoured smaller companions over its lifetime and will one day merge with Andromeda, our nearest spiral neighbor, in a slow dance that will culminate in a single, massive elliptical galaxy. In that future, the Sun's descendants may still linger, orbiting a new, shared heart. Gravity's artistry does not erase, it rearranges, turning every collapse into another chance for light. Even as we sit beneath our own patch of sky, the Milky Way continues its slow spin, completing a full rotation roughly every 200 million years. Our entire lives, and those of countless generations before and after us, occupy a tiny fraction of that galactic heartbeat. Yet within that brief moment, we are part of something ancient beyond measure. The light that reaches our eyes from a star in the Milky Way may have begun its journey before language existed, and the photons arriving from distant galaxies have traveled for millions of years just to kiss our retinas tonight. Each beam is a story in motion, a message that says, I existed, I shone, I reached you. Our bodies are stardust arranged by gravity's hand. Our mind's a small echo of cosmic organization, a miniature galaxy of thought and memory. When we look up, we are the universe gazing into its own design, as if galaxies were born so that someday something could look back and understand the pattern. Every spiral arm, every cluster, every filament of light reminds us that order can bloom from chaos, that beauty is simply structure seen through time. If you are still awake, drifting between thought and sleep, take a slow breath and imagine the universe folding and spinning, stars gathering, galaxies breathing. Feel the pulse of gravity, the whisper of photons that have traveled across epochs, and know that you are part of that endless replay of becoming. The next chapter of this story will carry us inward, from the grand tapestry of galaxies to a single, glowing star or sun. That star, like all others, began in the collapse of a cold, drifting sea of hydrogen, dust, and gas that stretched across light years. Within that cloud, gravity whispered, coaxing a region to contract tighter and tighter until pressure and heat ignited hydrogen fusion at its core. Light burst forth, and the sun was born, surrounded by a swirling disk of leftover material. In that disk, particles collided, clumped, and groupables into boulders, boulders into worlds. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars took shape close to the furnace farther out, the gas giants blossomed. Among these children, one world was just right, neither scorched nor frozen, a place where liquid water could linger and sunlight could nurture life. That world, Earth, is the masterpiece of the sun's quiet act of creation, a stage where light met chemistry and chemistry learned to grow. The sun's rays have powered everything since the winds that shape the sky, the currents that sculpt the seas, the invisible reactions inside every leaf. For billions of years, the sun has offered steady, unwavering kindness, its warmth fueling every breath we take. Every piece of food we eat is sunlight stored and transformed. Every beat of our heart is powered by photons that left the sun 8 minutes ago. In poetic terms, those 8 minutes are everything. We exist in a delicate interval between the sun as it was and us as we area bridge across time that makes the universe intimate and vast all at once. And so, as the night stretches above us, each star we see is a reminder of that first dawn, each photon a fragment of the universe's earliest breath. We are not merely observers, we are participants in an ongoing story that began with a perfect balance, a flash of fire and a whisper of gravity. The cosmos continues to light itself over and over in an endless replay of becoming. When you step outside tonight and lift your gaze, know that you are witnessing echoes of that moment when darkness fell and the first light rose across nothingness. The same light that burns within those distant suns also burns within us, shaping our thoughts, our bodies, our very sense of wonder. If you feel this connection, if the quiet of the night stirs something deep inside, share this journey with someone who loves the sky. Let the story travel from mind to mind, keeping the ancient light alive, allowing the universe to speak again through each new listener. In doing so, you become a conduit for that first second's memory, a thread in the ever-growing tapestry of consciousness. The story is far from over, and I am grateful to walk this breath, this pause, this whisper of wonder with you, as we continue to follow the light from the first fire to the stars that now guide us home. If you're still awake, the night still humming around us, let us linger a little longer in this quiet stretch of the cosmos. I'll ask you to draw a slow, deep breath, feel the air fill your lungs, and picture the universe as a great, ever-turning loom. Imagine it folding itself, spinning, gathering stars like beads on an invisible thread, and breathing galaxies in and out. The darkness outside our windows is not empty, it is a tapestry of stories waiting for a listener. When you feel the hush of this moment, think of sharing it with someone who also loves the way the night sky feels against the sky's small act that sends another spark of light into the endless pattern, letting the story drift onto a new dreamer's orbit. From this point, the fabric of the cosmos begins to tighten. The brilliant newborn stars we have watched flicker in the distance start to spin their own tails, giving birth to planets, moons, and oceans. The loom, which has been weaving the grand dance of galaxies, now turns its attention inward, toward a single glowing point that will become the hearth of our own story. That point, a star that learned how to nurture rather than devour, will one day cradle a world that learns to turn starlight into breath. There are stars that blaze hotter than a furnace, blue giants that burn bright and die young. And there are those that glow softly, red embers that will linger for trillions of years. Between those extremes, about 4.5 billion years ago, a modest star found a perfect balance. It was steady, patient, and its fire was not a raging hunger but a gentle, sustaining warmth. That star is the one that rises each morning, spilling gold across the horizon, warming the skin, stirring the wind, and making the world we know possible. It is our Sooner star that chose to be a caretaker. Like all stars, the sun began its life in a collapse. It was once part of a vast molecular cloud, a cold, drifting sea of hydrogen, dust, and gas that stretched across light years of empty space. Within that cloud, gravity whispered to a small region, urging it to contract tighter and tighter. The pressure and heat at its heart grew until they could no longer be contained, and a spark ignited hydrogen atoms fused into helium, releasing a flood of light and heat. The sun was born not alone, but surrounded by the remnants of the cloud that flattened into a spinning disk, a luminous halo of material orbiting its newborn warmth. Within that disk, particles collided, clumped, and grew. Tiny grains of rock became pebbles, pebbles became boulders, and boulders became worlds. This was the birth of the solar system, a quiet act of creation that set the stage for everything that would follow. Closest to the sun's heat, rocky planets took shape: Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Farther out, where the chill was deeper, the gas giants unfurled: Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, each a child of the same star, bound by the same pull, moving to the same cosmic rhythm. Among those worlds, one was just right. Not because it was the nearest, but because it sat in a sweet spot where the sun's warmth was neither scorching nor freezing. A place where water could linger as liquid, where sunlight could nurture life. That world is the one we now stand upon: Earth, the sun's masterpiece. A place where light met chemistry and chemistry learned to grow. The sun's rays powered everything that would follow: winds that shaped the sky, currents that sculpted the seas, and the invisible reactions inside every leaf. For billions of years, the sun has offered a steady, unwavering kindness. Its warmth fuels every breath you take, every morsel of food you eat, because each bite of nourishment is sunlight stored and transformed. Even the energy that pulses through your body now is borrowed from photons that left the sun 8 minutes ago. 8 minutes, that is the tiny delay between the heart of the star and the surface of our planet. In cosmic terms, it is a breath. In poetic terms, it is everything. You live in that 8-minute window, suspended between the sun as it was and you as you are. Every sunrise is the past arriving just in time to become your present. If you look at a single ray of sunlight, whether through a scientific lens or an imaginative eye, you can see the story it carries. Inside each photon is the imprint of nuclear fusion, hydrogen atoms merging, releasing energy that spent thousands of years traveling from the sun's core to its surface, then only minutes to reach your face. That beam of light has lived many lifetimes before it ever touches you. Some photons bounce within the sun's dense interior for more than 100,000 years, scattering endlessly before finally escaping into the void. When they emerge, they race outward in straight lines, free at last to wander. Some never find a planet, lost forever to cold darkness. Others, the lucky few, find this small blue world and land softly on leaves, oceans, skin. Each sunrise, each glimmer on water, is the arrival of ancient travelers who began their journey long before humanity existed, long before the mountains rose, long before the first breath was taken. When you open your eyes to daylight, you are greeting messengers older than your species, older than the very rocks beneath your feet. And what a delicate balance that light maintains. A slight shift in brightness and the Earth would freeze or burn, a small wobble in orbit and life would fail to bloom. Yet the sun holds steady, not by chance, but by the precise grace of physics. Gravity's inward pull balances perfectly against the outward pressure of fusion. and for billions of years that balance has endured like a candle that knows exactly how to burn. Even so, the sun is not eternal. One day its fuel will run low, the balance will falter, and it will swell into a red giant, potentially engulfing Mercury and Venus, perhaps brushing the orbit of Earth. Its light will change, its warmth will become unbearable, and eventually it will shed its outer layers, leaving behind a white dwarf, a hot ember cooling slowly for eternity. That day lies 5 billion years in the future, a horizon far beyond any of our concerns. For now, the sun is steady, rising faithfully, feeding every growing thing, carrying us through our days and seasons. We live in the golden middle of its life, its calm, luminous prime. It is easy to take that steadiness for granted, to think of the sun as ordinary. When you realize how precisely it shines, how delicately tuned its warmth must be for our world to exist, you see that nothing about it is ordinary. It is the quiet miracle that makes all others possible. Even when you sleep, the sun's light continues to circle the world, touching oceans, forests, and cities. Its energy flows through every living thing, from the smallest plankton to the tallest tree, connecting you to everything else alive. Every living organism is a different way of holding sunlight. If you're still awake, listening gently to this unfolding warmth, pause and imagine your own connection to it. The same light that falls on you tonight once fell on the first forests, the first oceans, the first eyes that opened toward dawn. Perhaps share this moment, a little sunlight in story form, with someone who might need its warmth. Light survives by being passed on, and in that sharing we keep the pattern alive. Now let us follow that gift of light to where it truly became alive. We will drift from the sun's radiance to the tiny blue world that learned to use it, the world that turned starlight into breath. The earth was still young then, a restless sphere wrapped in storms and heat, its surface glowing with volcanic breath, its skies heavy with vapor and lightning. There were no forests, no creatures, not even the sound of wavesenly roaring steam. As the planet cooled, rain began to fall, not for minutes or days but for centuries, a slow, steady weeping of the sky. The rain filled cracks, basins and hollows, oceans gathered, and the earth found its reflection. That was the moment everything changed. Where there is water, there is possibility. The sun shone upon those newborn seas, and for the first time light met liquid. Photons touched the surface and scattered inward, warming currents, energizing the molecules drifting within. Within that soft chaos, something began to stir. The ocean was a cauldron of chemistry: hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, the alphabet of matter, all dancing, colliding, joining, breaking, reforming. Simple molecules began to organize, guided by energy from sunlight, lightning, and the heat of the deep. Somewhere in that shimmering soup, perhaps in a shallow tide pool or a deep hydrothermal vent, a small chain of molecules found a pattern that could repeat itself, a rhythm that could copy and sustain. It was the first whisper of life, not a creature, not even a cell, but a processor self-renewing memory written in chemistry. You might call it the dream of life, because before life began to be, it began to imagine itself in the way that molecules learn to persist, to protect their pattern, to endure. The Earth's oceans became a laboratory of patience. For millions of years, countless molecular experiments played out in every droplet. Most dissolved into nothing, a few held on, growing more complex, learning to enclose themselves, to feed, to divide, to remember. And one day, after ages of trial and rhythm, life crossed the line between chance and purpose. Tiny membranes formed, separating inside from outside. Within those delicate walls, chemistry began to behave like intention. Molecules cooperated, energy was harnessed, and the first cell was born, a single spark in a vast ocean of blue, a small pocket of warmth replicating itself, guided by the same light that once only warmed the sea. From that single moment, every living thing you have ever known began its lineage. The trees, the whales, the human soul carry the echo of that first cell. Even now, deep within you, your blood still carries salt in memory of the ocean that shaped your ancestors. Every heartbeat, every breath, every drop of sweat or tear is a quiet tribute to the sea that dreamed you into being. Life's birth was not easy. The early Earth was harsh, meteors fell, volcanoes belched smoke and ash, seas boiled then cooled again. Yet each time destruction came, life adapted, because survival itself became a rhythm. The ocean taught resilience. At some point, cells began to gather together, forming colonies, sharing work, building structure. Cooperation became evolution's secret weapon. Together they could do what alone they could not. Light, the same light that once warmed an empty planet, became food. Some cells learned to capture it, turning photons into energy, storing the sun within themselves. This was photosynthesis, the invention that changed everything. For the first time, life began to shape the planet that had given it birth. Oxygen filled the atmosphere, transforming the skies, paving the way for new forms of life to come. The dream had become a dialogue between light and matter, between ocean and air, between the planet and the life it carried. And somewhere in the slow rhythm of tides, the ocean began to reflect itself in new eyes that would one day belong to creatures that climbed onto land and looked back at the sea's home. In this quiet chapter, we stay in the beginning, in the warm shallows where sunlight ripples through green water and single cells drift like tiny galaxies, each carrying the blueprint of everything that would follow. It is peaceful here, isn't it? No cities, no sound but the tide. Just time, light, and patience, the same patience that built continents, carved mountains, and carried you to this very moment. If you're still awake, still drifting softly with me through this ancient ocean, stay with me until the end of tonight's story. Every ripple we have followed so far, from the birth of light to this sea of beginnings, is about to meet something extraordinary. You and I stand at the threshold where chemistry becomes consciousness, and I promise the journey ahead is as calm and beautiful as the one behind. Before you drift off, take another slow, deep breath. You are breathing the memory of the first air. The oxygen in your lungs was once the product of ancient cells that floated in those primal seas. You are their continuation, the ocean's dream realized in thought and skin. When you next hear the sound of waves, listen carefully. That rhythm, that soft repetition, is the sound of life remembering how it began. It is the heartbeat of time still whispering through water and wind. In our next chapter, we will follow that memory as it climbs from the sea to the land, as life learns to move, to breathe air, to touch sunlight not merely as warmth but as awareness. Join me for the breath that learns to walk, where the ocean's dream takes its first steps into the open air, and the story of life becomes the story of movement, of courage, and of home. The sea had been dreaming for billions of years. Within its depths, creatures of all shapes and colors drifted and fed, each one carrying the memory of the first cell that had stirred there. Dreams, even in oceans, have a way of growing restless. Life had filled the water, and something within it, something wordless, began to wonder what lay above. The surface shimmered with sunlight, a barrier of brightness that could never quite be touched. Yet somewhere in the shallow pools where water met rock, certain organisms began to rise toward it. They didn't know why, perhaps for food, perhaps for warmth, but the sea, it seemed, was teaching itself to climb. It began with plants. Tiny green filaments learned to hold sunlight more efficiently, capturing energy even at the edge of the shore. They anchored to rocks, spread across sand, and slowly painted the coastline green. The air began to fill with new gases, oxygen thick and rich, the same breath that would one day fill your lungs. Then came the animals. Fins that once only knew how to push through water grew stronger. Primitive lungs, first simple air sacs used by fish to gulp oxygen, began to evolve. Each small adaptation was a quiet step toward the impossible, breathing the open sky. Imagine that first creature crawling onto land. It was not a graceful stride, but a clumsy heave. Wet skin drying under the sun, eyes squinting against glare, lungs fluttering uncertainly in the new air. It didn't know it was changing history, it was simply following light. From that moment, everything transformed. The ocean's dream expanded its reach. Scales became skin, fins became limbs, and movement once limited to the push of currents became a freedom across continents. The world above the waves was raw and untamed. Volcanoes rumbled, lightning split the skies, winds sculpted the landscape. Yet in this vast wilderness, life began to bloom. Amphibians gave rise to reptiles to birds and mammals, each generation testing new ways of living. Every breath taken in open air was the ocean exhaling through new voices. With that breath came something unexpected: awareness. Eyes that once saw only filtered green light now looked across horizons. To see became to imagine, and imagination became movement. The universe had given itself eyes, and those eyes began to wonder. Even now, you carry the memory of that first breath. Your lungs are ancient, descended from those early air sacs of fish. Your bones, the structure of your hands and legs, are refinements of fins once used to swim. When you walk, you echo the same rhythm that brought the first amphibians from water to land. Every step you take is part of that same migration, the universe moving itself forward through you. It is easy to forget that you are built from the ocean's patience, that every breath you take is borrowed from a world that once could not breathe at all. When you inhale, you perform the same miracle that life invented hundreds of millions of years ago. Imagine the world, then air thick with mist. Ferns taller than houses swaying under a dim young sun. Dragonflies the size of hawks drifting above shallow rivers. The Earth, once barren, now breathing, a planet alive, covered in a thin film of motion and curiosity. Beneath every forest, the ocean still whispered. Rain carried salt back to the sea. Rivers returned the mountains to the tides. The bond was never broken. We like to think of evolution as progress, but perhaps it is more like memory. Each adaptation is the body remembering how to become itself again in new forms, on new ground, under new light. The lungs remember the air. The skin remembers the sea. Deep within every cell, DNA remembers everything. If you close your eyes now, you can almost feel that connection, the pull of the tide within your blood, the rhythm of waves inside your heartbeat. The human body is mostly water for a reason. It is not just chemistry, it is ancestry. You are still the ocean, just walking upright. That is why standing by the shore feels so strangely familiar, the sound of waves, the salt in the air, the endless horizon. It is your oldest home calling you back, a reminder that you once belonged to something larger, and in truth you still do. If you are still here with me, awake but floating in that calm space between curiosity and sleep, stay with me till the end of this journey. The story we have traced from the birth of light, through the forging of a star, the gathering of planets, the emergence of a blue world, the meeting of water and sunlight, the first flicker of chemistry, the rise of cells, the breath of the ocean, the first steps onto land has led us to a moment where consciousness awakens. We stand on the edge of a new chapter, where the memory of the sea becomes the memory of the sky, where thought and feeling begin to shape the world as much as the world shaped us. Take one more breath, feel it fill you, and know that the same breath has traveled across eons, across fire and water, across stone and sky, to become the rhythm of your heart. The universe has been whispering this tale for as long as there has been light, and now you are part of its voice. Let that thought settle gently, like the tide pulling back to reveal the sand beneath. In the quiet that follows, know that you are both listener and storyteller, a thread woven into the ever-growing tapestry of consciousness. And as the night deepens, let the memory of the first light, the first fire, the first breath linger with you, ready to be carried forward when the next sunrise arrives. The day began as a whisper of warmth against my skin, a soft caress that hinted at the sun's ascent. It felt like every breath I took was a step into an ancient rhythm, one that stretched back through aeons and across oceans. My lungs expanded with each inhalation, drawing in air that seemed to carry the echoes of countless generations, before miffins evolving into limbs. Primitive sacs adapting into lungs capable of breathing not just water but also the open sky. I imagined the first creature making its hesitant steps onto land, a slow, clumsy heave as it felt the wet skin dry under the sun's unyielding gaze. Its eyes squinted against the glare, and its lungs fluttered uncertainly in response to the new air. That moment was not just a physical transition, but also a profound shift in consciousness, a realization that life could exist beyond the boundaries of water. From this moment, everything began to transform. The ocean's dream had expanded its reach, and creatures started adapting, evolving to suit their newfound environment. Scales turned into skin, fins became limbs, and movement once confined by currents transformed into a freedom across continents. Life was no longer bound by the sea, but could now explore vast stretches of land. The world above the waves was raw and untamed, a place where volcanoes rumbled, lightning split the skies, and winds sculpted the landscape with relentless force. Yet in this wilderness, life bloomed anew. Amphibians gave rise to reptiles, reptiles evolved into birds and mammals. Each generation tested new ways of living, each breath taken in open air echoing as an exhalation through new voices. Awareness dawned on these creatures gradually. Eyes that once saw only the filtered green light beneath water now looked across vast horizons. Distance itself became meaningful, for to see meant to imagine and to move. The universe had given itself eyes, and those eyes began to wonder. They pondered what lay beyond the horizon, what secrets hid in the depths of night. Every breath I take today is a testament to that ancient transformation. My lungs are descendants of primitive air sacs used by fish to gulp oxygen. My bones are refinements of fins once used for swimming. Every step I walk echoes the migration of early amphibians from water to land, a rhythm passed down through generations. And yet it's easy to forget that this journey was built upon patience and adaptation, each breath taken borrowed from a world that could not breathe at all. Close your eyes now, and you can almost feel the connection, the pull of the tide within my blood, the rhythm of waves inside my heartbeat. The human body is mostly water for a reason. It's more than just chemistry, but also ancestry. I am still the ocean, walking upright. Standing by the shore feels strangely familiar because it's my oldest home calling me back, a reminder that once, long ago, I belonged to something larger and continue to do so. And yet, if you're here with me now, in this calm space between curiosity and sleep, then join me for what comes next, the most beautiful chapter in the universe's story. The sea has learned to walk, but soon will learn to think. A spark that moved fins into legs will flicker like light on the sea as thoughts begin to take shape. Imagine a world where life was simply existing, swimming, feeding, dividing, surviving. Each generation added something new: stronger limbs, sharper eyes, better lungs, faster hearts. But none of it knew what it was doing. Life was instinctual movement without reflection until one day, the quiet machinery of biology began to hum with a different pulse, a faint spark of awareness. It started in the brain, a wet constellation of neurons, each cell a living wire of electricity, exchanging sparks at an incredible speed. At first, these signals were simple: move toward light, flee danger, seek warmth or food. But as creatures grew more complex, so did their neural networks. They began to form connections between connections, creating intricate patterns and memories. An animal could now recall what had just happened, compare it to the present moment, and anticipate what might come next. The universe had invented memory, which in turn led to imagination, the ability to picture something that wasn't there yet, to see the world not only as it is but also as it could be. This small evolutionary spark was a leap for the cosmos, because imagination is the seed of wonder. Picture an early human ancestor sitting by a fire for the first time, watching how sparks leap into the air and vanish into the night. Perhaps they stared too long, wondering what those flames meant. What is that light? Where does it go? That moment was when life became self-aware. The same physics that shaped galaxies had built minds capable of contemplating them. Every mind sincere's, mine, all of us, is a continuation of that first spark. When you wonder about stars or ponder your existence, you are part of an endless conversation echoing through time. Your brain is a complex network of neurons firing patterns so intricate that not even the universe can easily map them. Within those patterns lie memories, loves, dreams, each one contributing to the grand narrative of life. With this awareness came weight, because to imagine something means also realizing impermanence. To see beauty is to know it will fade, to love is to face loss. Yet this realization is what makes life precious. We hold both light and shadow in our hands, understanding that they exist only because of each other. Every great leap of understanding, every discovery or invention, is a ripple from that first spark of wonder. When an ancient astronomer looked up at the stars for the first time, asking questions about their movement, or when a philosopher ponders the nature of thought itself, or even today when a child whispers why under the night sky, it's all part of the same conversation still echoing through time. Your brain is part of this echo, billions of neurons firing in patterns that are complex and intricate. The spark that learned to wonder did not stop with knowing, but built language so curiosity could be shared. Art was created so meaning could be felt deeply. Stories were told to preserve knowledge beyond death. You are made of light turned into memory, then into thought, and finally into story atoms, born in the heart of stars combined into molecules that dreamed, then into minds that remembered those very same stars. And somewhere deep within my brain, electrical signals still echo the pulse of that first lightning on Earth, the one that struck the ocean and helped life begin. Your thoughts are made from the same electricity that powered creation's spark. So when you lie awake at night thinking about your origins, know that you are part of the answer already. The universe isn't something you look at, but a part of every question asked is a reflection back to itself. If you're still here, listening softly to this unfolding story of time and thought, stay with me till the end, because now the universe has learned to wonder, and will soon learn even more how to remember itself through us. In our next chapter, we'll explore how that spark became connection as minds once alone began to share ideas, build civilizations, and change the world simply by imagining together. Imagine night falling on ancient Earth, a time when darkness was a threat rather than a backdrop for light. But then something new burned, a flame held by trembling hands around which early humans gathered. The fire wasn't just warmth, but memory. It reflected the same light that fell from stars above, transforming darkness into a stage for life's first communal awakening. Around this flame, people began speaking not just in grunts or gestures, but sounds carrying meaning, traveling through air and connecting minds across time. Language was born here, bridging gaps between individuals to create shared knowledge beyond any single skull. Stories emerged as the first bridges over fear, giving shape to mystery and turning it into meaning. Those early gatherings spawned all we now call civilization: art, music, philosophy. Science all flames passed hand to hand through generations. Even now, when you tell someone a story, you're continuing that act of creation, turning thought into light, darkness into understanding. You are a link in an unbroken chain stretching back to that first circle of firelight. Imagine the minds gathered there, wide-eyed with reflection and reaching out towards shared warmth. Fire itself mirrored the sun, giving life, but belonged now to these humans who could carry it, nurture it, protect it. Through this protection came care. For the first time, people looked not only at stars but also at each other, recognizing connection in feelings beyond blood or tribe. Empathy was born here, changing everything, because once you can feel another's emotions, you can imagine futures together. Art emerged, painted hands on cave walls, sculptures of stone and bone, rhythms echoing through the dark as declarations: I was here, we were here. Each mark a defiance against time's passage. These early stories didn't just explain but created worlds, shaping identities in shared narratives. The universe, once silent, spoke through countless small voices trying to understand existence. From these gatherings grew louder conversations, rippling outward from tribe to tribe, continent to continent, myths becoming religions, knowledge, science, memory, history. Each step forward was simply another way for the cosmos to hear itself more clearly, translating ancient silence into understanding. If you could stand invisibly among those first storytellers, you'd feel something familiar: laughter, awe, questions all still within us. We carry the same spark that flickered in their eyes, beings of light making sense of dark. Isn't it beautiful that a creature made from stardust could sit beside a flame and speak its own existence into meaning? Even now, as you listen to this, yes, you're sitting in that same circle of firelight. The glow has changed shape. Warmth comes from thought, imagination, story. The tradition never stopped. Every book, every whispered bedtime tale, every song sung under night skies is part of the same ancient fire's warmth, once dancing between ancestors' hands. If you're still awake here in this gentle reflection, stay with me till journey's end, because we're nearing where this fire spreads beyond cave, tribe, world, the universe's voice reaching stars again through us. Before leaving this fire, though, take a moment, close your eyes, and imagine that flickering light, wood crackling sounds, quiet breaths beside you. Each ember is thought, each flame shared memory. You're safe in their warmth, because in next chapter's journey, this growing light outward transforms curiosity into exploration, where stories turn science, knowledge of cosmos itself. The fire once keeping night away now burns differently, not in flames but thoughts. People who saw gods or ancestors in stars started noticing something quietly miraculous, patterns hidden within celestial movement, shepherds noting bright stars rising before dawn, farmers realizing moon cycles match tides, sailors learning constellations for navigation. Patterns became predictions, knowledge emerged from observation. This was the birth of measurement, and science seeth the same spark, once telling stories around fires, now drawing lines in sand, marking shadows, counting days. The cosmos whispered through light and motion. Human minds finally learned how to listen, a profound shift in understanding life's essence beyond mere existence towards comprehension of order amidst chaos. Join me then for journey, continuing this firelight outward into exploration, where curiosity becomes knowledge of stars, mind measuring cosmos, wonder turning understanding as imagination reaches once more into infinite night. I sit by the glow of a fire that has been lit countless times before me, its orange tongues licking the darkness, as if they were trying to write something into the night. I close my eyes for a heartbeat and picture the first hands that tended this little blaze, small, calloused, trembling with both fear and wonder. They held the flame as if it were a fragile bird, protecting it, feeding it, learning in the process that to keep something alive you must first learn to feel for it. In that shared warmth, something new blossomed between them, not just the knowledge that fire could keep wolves at bay, but the realization that the heat they felt on their skin was the same heat that pulsed in the chest of the person sitting beside them. That was the first spark of empathy, the moment when looking at the stars above ceased to be a solitary act and became a communal one. When we first learned to sense another's heartbeat, we began to imagine futures together. We could picture a hunt that would bring enough meat for the whole tribe, a shelter that could keep the rain out for a whole winter, a song that would travel across the valley and be answered by another voice. From that shared imagination rose the first paintings on cave walls, the first sculptures carved from bone and stone, the first rhythms that drummed against hollowed trunks and echoed through the dark. Each mark, each beat, was a declaration I was here. We were here. They were tiny acts of defiance against the relentless march of time, a way of saying that even if the world would eventually forget us, the story we told each other would not. Those early stories did more than explain the world, they created it. By naming the thunder, by giving shape to the wind, by weaving the movements of the herd into a narrative, we forged a reality that could be held in the mind as surely as a stone could be held in the hand. The universe, which once seemed distant and indifferent, began to speak through a chorus of many small voices, each trying to make sense of its own existence. The world grew louder, not with chaos, but with conversation. Language rippled from one camp to the next, from one continent to another. Myths became the first religions. Knowledge turned into the first science. Memory solidified into history. Every step forward was simply another way for the cosmos to hear itself more clearly, to translate its ancient silence into a language we could understand. If I could stand invisible among those first storytellers, I would feel their laughter, their awe, their endless questions. I would see the same flicker of curiosity that still dances in my own eyes. We are all bearers of that same spark, a light that has traveled across millennia, from the first ember in a hollowed log to the bright ideas that now orbit the earth in steel and glass. It is beautiful, isn't it? That a creature forged from stardust can sit beside a fire and give voice to its own existence. Even now, as you listen to my words, you are sitting in that same circle of light. The fire has simply changed shape. Its warmth now comes from thought, from imagination, from story. The tradition never stopped. Every book, every whispered bedtime tale, every song sung under the night sky is a continuation of that ancient blaze, a flame that once danced between the hands of our ancestors and now dances between the neurons of our minds. Stay with me a little longer, if you will. The fire is about to spread beyond the cave, beyond the tribe, beyond the world we know. The voice of the universe is preparing to reach the stars once more, this time through us. Before we step out of the circle, close your eyes again and imagine the crackle of the wood, the soft breath of the people beside you. Each ember is a thought, each flame a memory shared. You are safe in that warmth, as you always have been, because the next chapter will follow this growing light outward, turning curiosity into exploration, turning stories into science, letting the same spark that once built fire now build knowledge of the cosmos itself. The night sky that once seemed like a canvas for gods and ancestors began to reveal a hidden rhythm. Stars did not rise at random, they followed a pattern, returning to the same places at the same seasons, as if the heavens themselves kept a quiet schedule. A shepherd noticed a bright star that always rose before the first light of summer. A farmer saw the moon's phases tug at the tides. A sailor learned to steer by constellations that never wavered. Those observations turned into predictions, and predictions became knowledge. The universe, it turned out, was not chaotic at all, it was ordered, its order waiting patiently to be seen. From this order sprang measurement, and with measurement came the birth of science. The same spark that once told stories around a fire now drew lines in the sand, marked shadows, counted days. The cosmos whispered through light and motion, and the human mind finally learned how to listen. Imagine those early astronomers lying on cool stone, eyes fixed on the sky, tracing the arcs of wandering planets with nothing but patience and a belief in repetition. They did not have telescopes, they had time, and they trusted that the sky would keep its promises. Every dot of light became a clock, every movement a message. The universe was not silent, it was a grand mechanism, each orbit a note in a symphony too vast for any single ear. Over centuries, those watches of the sky turned into monuments. Stone circles aligned with solstices, pyramids pointed towards specific stars, structures that turned the passage of time into architecture. Humanity began to measure eternity with stone and shadow. Calendars guided planting and harvest. Navigation opened oceans. Mathematics gave structure to thought. Through it all, the stars remained patient teachers, unwavering and eternal. But curiosity does not rest. It asks not only how, but why. The minds that mapped constellations began to wonder about the deeper machinery behind them. What makes the planets move? What holds the moon to the earth? What binds the heavens together? Thousands of years passed before the answer arrived, and when it did, it was as elegant as it was infinite gravity. The invisible pull that had gathered the first atoms into stars and galaxies, that drew oceans toward the moon, was the same force that kept our feet planted on the ground. In that realization, the heavens and the earth were no longer separate realms, they were a single continuum, a fabric woven by the same law. Think of that for a moment. The same gravity that steadies your heartbeat is the same that sculpts galaxies. You are not separate from the stars you measure, you are made of their rhythm. And the story did not stop there. The more we learned, the more intricate the design appeared. Mathematics became a new kind of poetry, a language capable of describing both motion and mystery. Through equations, we saw beyond the visible the ages of stars, the distances of galaxies, the curvature of space-time itself. Each discovery made the universe feel larger, yet more intimate, because the deeper we looked outward, the more we found reflections of ourselves. When Galileo lifted his telescope to the moon, he saw mountains and shadows, not divine perfection. When Newton described gravity, he showed that nature's rules were universal. When Einstein bent those rules into relativity, he revealed that time and space themselves were partners in motion, stretching, twisting, dancing around mass and light. The universe, it seemed, was not a cold machine but a melody, and we finally learned to hum along. Knowledge, however, brings humility. Every mystery solved opens a deeper one. We discovered the atom, only to learn it was not solid. We mapped our galaxy, only to realize it is one among billions. We reached the edge of the visible universe, only to suspect there may be no edge at all. Yet we keep asking, because asking is what keeps the light alive. When you look up at the night sky, you are doing what every scientist, poet, and dreamer before you has done. Your eyes, your thoughts, your wonder are instruments of discovery. You do not need a formula to belong to that story, your very presence is enough. Close your eyes now and feel the rhythm that guided the stars across the ancient sky. Your heartbeat is the echo of gravity's pull, your breath rises and falls with the same cycles that once moved oceans and clouds. Even your mind, filled with thoughts and light, is part of the same grand measurement. You are the cosmos becoming aware of its own precision, and every observation, every moment of awe, Is the universe continuing to know itself through you? If you are still awake, still traveling with me through this quiet map of meaning, I invite you to linger a little longer. After the mind learns to measure the stars, it begins to ask something more profound, not how they move, but why we feel their beauty, why we long for them, why the infinite can move a human heart. In the next chapter, we will follow that longing at the bridge between science and soul, as the universe begins to explore itself through emotion, art, and meaning. The mind charted the heavens, reason turned myth into map. Yet something curious happened. The more we understood, the more we felt. Knowledge did not quiet wonder, it deepened it. The equations that described how stars are born and die did not strip away their magic. They revealed a beauty far richer than any myth could capture. Each generation that looked up felt that same quiet ache, a longing both ancient and familiar, as if some part of us remembers being light once and now misses it. Our atoms, forged in stellar furnaces, still hum with recognition when we gaze at the night. The heart, it seems, is another instrument of astronomy. It measures not distance but belonging. When a poet watches the Milky Way, they are not so different from an astronomer with a telescope. Both are looking at the same thing through different lenses, sun through data, the other through devotion. The universe does not merely want to be observed, it wants to be felt. And you, right now, are its way of feeling itself. Every emotion you have ever known, love, or grief, has been the cosmos experiencing itself from the inside. You are not separate from the stars you adore, you are their continuation folded into awareness. Think of that for a moment. Every time you have looked at the night sky and felt small, it was not humility alone. It was recognition, a remembering of our origin. That is perhaps why humans fell in love with the sky long before they understood it. We named constellations after our hopes and fierce lions, hunters, queens, lovers. We told stories about them not to explain the stars, but to explain ourselves. Each constellation became a mirror, a way to map our own hearts onto infinity. When the first astronomers turned their telescopes outward, they also turned our hearts inward. Galileo's trembling hand, pointing the lens toward Jupiter's moons, was also pointing toward something deeper, the human need to belong to something vast. That longing has never left us. It lives in the silence between breaths, when we stand beneath a clear sky, in the art we create, in the music that rises like a comet across a darkened room, in the way strangers who never meet can still feel connected under the same moon. It is in every love letter, every lullaby, every act of kindness. It is the universe remembering how to care for itself. Science taught us what we are made of, love teaches us what we are for. You could say love is the universe's way of folding the infinite into something intimate. The same gravity that binds galaxies also binds hearts. The same fusion that lights stars is mirrored in the warmth that passes between people. We are held together by invisible forces, drawn by a pull we cannot see but always feel. When we love, we participate in creation again. We make meaning, we nurture light, we continue the pattern. It is humbling to realize how brief we are, a single lifetime, a handful of heartbeats in cosmic time. Yet within that brevity we feel everything the universe has ever made possible. We experience beauty and grief, loss and hope, as if existence distilled its entire range into the span of a single life. It is as if consciousness was designed not to last forever, but to feel forever deeply, completely, sincerely in whatever time it is given. So when you love, you are doing the most cosmic thing imaginable. You are giving the universe back to itself. Love makes you both infinite and fragile, both stardust and story. It gives meaning to knowledge and warmth to truth. It is why we keep building, exploring, telling stories even after we know how they end, because love insists there is more to see, more to feel, more to become. You can see it in the astronomer tracing orbits, not just with math, but with devotion in the artist painting nebulae, as if memory were pigment in the musician who writes about the night sky and fills silence with wonder. All of them perform the same act, turning understanding into tenderness. If you could step outside the universe and look back at it as a whole, you might see a single heartbeat, matter turning into awareness, awareness turning into love, love turning everything luminous. You are part of that pulse. You are how the cosmos continues to know itself, not just through logic, but through longing. So, if you are still awake, still floating with me in this quiet thought, stay a little longer till the end, because we are almost there. The final stretch of this journey through light, life, thought, and love awaits. There is one more step left, the part where love learns to look forward, to imagine what comes after, to guide the next dream of the cosmos. Before we go there, take a slow, deep breath. Feel the inhaled starlight soften into air, the exhaled memory turn into meaning. Your body is an ancient song still being sung by the universe itself. And now we listen to its final verse, the moment where everything we have explored turns back into possibility. Love, having learned to see, begins to create. It becomes the engine that drives the next act of imagination, the force that pushes the story of everything into a new chapter. The universe that learned to dream now circles back to consciousness, and the story of everything becomes the story of imagination itself. In this closing moment, I want you to remember that the fire we gathered around was never just about keeping the night at bay. It was about lighting the way forward, about turning darkness into a canvas for our hopes. It was about the quiet realization that the same spark that set kindling alight also set our minds alight, and that same spark now fuels the endless curiosity that will carry us to new horizons. As we step away from the fire, the glow lingers in our thoughts. The stars above, once distant and indifferent, now feel like old friends we can converse with. The equations we write, the songs we sing, the stories we tell are love letters to the universe, invitations for it to continue listening to itself through us. And in that listening, we find our purpose to be both observers and participants, to measure and to feel, to understand and to cherish. So, dear traveler of thoughts, carry this fire within you. Let it warm your nights, guide your days, and remind you that every ember you nurture is a fragment of the cosmos finding its voice. When you look up at the sky tomorrow, remember that you are not merely a spectator, you are a part of the grand conversation that began around a flickering flame thousands of years ago. And as the night deepens, let your heart beat in time with the pulse of the stars, for in that rhythm lies the ultimate truth: we are the universe, aware of itself, forever reaching, forever loving, forever becoming.